Good morning, everyone. We're going to call the Education Committee meeting of the Acupuncture Board to order at 9 o'clock, and we'll start by establishing the quorum.
Jamie Zamora?
Here.
Kevin Chan?
Here.
Dr. Michael Cordino?
Here.
Jeannie King. 4 we have a quorum. Jumping in.
I'm legal counsel. I just want to point out that members of the board who are not members of this committee are maybe in the audience, but they are not participating. They're just here as observers. And I would recommend also in the future that because you must have a quorum for your committee meetings, but you can't have a majority of the board members present at a committee meeting, you limit your committee meetings to 3 members.
Thank you. Great. Moving on to item number 2, we're going to go to public comment for items not on the agenda. Any? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, and we're going to have an update on Education Committee assignments by our executive officer.
Thank you, Jamie. 1 second. Sorry, Francisco needs to step off the...
Oh,
Yes. Education committee. Okay.
The update is brief. This, as are the rest of the committee meetings today, are spring cleaning for the board. What we have are a number of minutes that have been logged in from previous committee meetings with this iteration of the board that we would like to have accepted or approved. So what you see before us on our agenda are just the minutes that we have today. Any regulations that the committee or the board has directed for the Education Committee to review are being reviewed by staff and drafted by staff at the moment. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Ben. All right, we'll now move to item number 4, approval of January 17, 2014 Education Committee minutes. So board members, please look over the minutes and let me know if there are any changes.
If board members or committee members, if you were not present for any meetings, please go ahead and abstain. From the vote.
But yeah, you would vote. Yeah, you would vote. So you'd say
Yes, there.
board members, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move to approve the meeting minutes from January 17, 2014 for the Education Committee.
Second.
Public comment.
Oh, public comment. Seeing none?
Excuse me, did you say 2014?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Seeing none?
Okay. The motion is to approve the January 17, 2014 Education Committee meeting minutes by Jamie. The second is by Jeannie King. The votes, Zamora?
Yes.
Chan?
Yes.
Cordino?
Yes.
Abstain.
Abstain. Excuse me.
And King.
Yes.
3-0, motion approved.
301.
Oh, sorry, 3-0. Motion approved.
Great. We'll move to item number 5, approval of April 18, 2014 Education Committee meeting minutes. Board members, let me know if you have any changes. Anything? You okay?
Well,
You okay?
I have a question.
Sure.
My name is on the education committee, but I'm not. It's not. I'm present or
Kevin,
absent
yeah,
or what?
you were at that meeting. I forgot to list it
okay.
as being present. I apologize. So that would be one change. Jamie would be at the Kevin Chan was present.
comment on these minutes? Okay. Seeing none, I move to approve the meeting minutes with the one change for the meeting minutes for April 18, 2014 for the Education Committee.
Second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we took it.
Okay, the move is to approve the April 14, 2014 education meeting minutes with the April 18th, 2014 education meeting minutes with the one change today, adding Hit and Chan. Jamie moves and Jeannie Kane seconds the vote. Zamora,
Yes.
Chan,
Yes.
Cordino,
Abstain.
Kane,
Yes.
3-0-1, motion passes.
Great. We'll move forward to item number 6, approval of December 14, 2016 Education Committee meeting minutes.
The December 14th? Looks like it had
He was present and I left it out, so Paul was again.
No, he's right there.
Oh,
right there.
okay. Any more coffee?
Not there.
Board members okay?
Yep.
Okay. I'll move to approve the meeting minutes for Wednesday, December 14, 2016 for the Education Committee.
Second.
Public comment?
Public comment? Seeing none, take the roll.
Okay, the motion is to approve the December 14th, 2016 Education Committee meeting minutes. Motion made by Jamie, second by Jeannie Kane. The vote, Zamora,
Yes.
Chan,
Yes.
Cordino,
Abstain. Abstain. Excuse me. Abstain.
Kane.
Yes.
3-0, motion passes.
Zero.
3-0-1, motion.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move forward to item number 7 for future Education Committee agenda items for board members first to discuss, and then we'll go to public comment. So, board members, any suggestions for the Education Committee to discuss in future meetings coming up? Seeing none, we'll go to the public comment on these items. Any future discussion on topics that you'd like us to discuss? Yep. And just state your name and who you are.
You don't have to state,
Oh.
but you may.
Sure. My name is Daniel Hamadani. I'm a BACM student at Southern California University of Health Sciences. Wondering if we could talk about the candidacy for that school, the BACM program.
Can you speak a little bit louder?
Sure. So I'm a student at Southern California University of Health Sciences. I'd like to talk about the candidacy for that school and that program.
Great.
Okay.
And just to clarify, when you're saying candidacy, this is the training program approval with the board, or candidacy
So
with
it's,
the
Yeah, curriculum review.
curriculum?
Thank you.
Good morning, Jack from Mark Andrews College. Want to make sure that on the next Education Committee meeting, we'll have a review on the IRF section for the national versus the occupation analysis and the job task analysis that was done, and the percentage, the 10.5, the 86 formula, the 166, very big concern. And, we're now possibly less than 2 years out, and, we need to really come to a conclusion of what will be the board's decision on that percentage and on those California board formula versus the national. There's a very, very big disconnect, and the students are very anxious to find out about it, and they really should be working on it in their first or second year, not on their fourth year. It was just totally unfair for that to happen to them. On the last year, all of a sudden, we have doubled the amount of formulas. That's really not what the California board is asking and what you have been doing for the last so many years. It's dropped to 10.5% from 17.5%, and there's a big disconnect there. Thank you.
Good morning, Yoon Kim, President of Amherst College. I'd like the educational committees to consider putting on the agenda the issue of clinic supervision. There is a requirement right now for the second 275 hours of clinic supervision that a supervisor has to be physically present for the needling. The schools will be providing some letters as well as the Council of Colleges of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine on this issue. We do not feel that it's in the best interest of student learning or public safety to have this regulation. So we will be bringing letters and some information and some evidence of what other healthcare practitioners are doing in terms of best practice. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and move forward to number 8, adjournment.
That's easy.
Take a 5-minute break. People want to move into consent?
We'll just use that one for now. Just use it till it runs out and replace it next time.
So this is the exam committee meeting for May 26th, 2017. Call to order and establish a quorum, please.
Okay, Jeannie Kane,
Present.
Kevin Chan,
Yes.
Dr. Michael Cordino,
Yes.
Francisco Shea,
Yeah.
Dr. Amy Matecki.
Yes.
5-0, quorum established.
Legal counsel?
Yes, same comments as the last committee meeting, although there is a majority of the board on the subcommittee now. The subcommittee, the committee meeting, not subcommittee, the committee meeting and the full board notices were posted simultaneously. So we will proceed this way. In the future, I recommend that you have no more than 3 people on the committee.
Number 2 on the agenda, public comment for items not on the agenda. Number 3, update on exam committee assignments. Ben?
Thank you, Jeannie. So as before, we're doing spring cleaning. We're not going to see much discussion of content. Again, just looking at the minutes. So thank you for bearing with us.
Great.
Alright, so we're gonna do the approval for the January 17th, 2014 exam committee meeting minutes. Please take a look. So if the board members are okay with the agenda? Everyone good? Okay. We're good?
The issue of the members, the January meeting minutes, Francisco was the chair, so he was here. Hildy was on the committee. She's obviously off it. She was obviously not here, but on it back then. What do we do for votes?
They could, if you don't have a majority of present, then you could just accept the minutes. You could have a motion and a second.
Second is accepted.
Okay.
So I accept the minutes and let's make a motion to approve the exam committee meeting for the January 17th, 2014.
Anybody second?
Kipman, you want to make a second?
They can second if they weren't there, right? They
Yes,
can't vote.
and it's accept.
Oh,
I second it.
Okay.
any public comments? January 17th, 2014. All right. Let's take a vote.
Okay, the motion is by Jean to accept the minutes to January 17, 2014 exam committee minutes. Dr. Cordino seconds. The vote, Jean?
Yes.
Okay. It's to accept them, so.
I think-
Chan?
Abstain.
Abstain. Cordino?
Abstain.
Shea?
Yeah.
Mateki?
Abstain.
Okay, 3 abstentions, 2 yeses. I believe that is a pass.
Accepted.
Accepted, okay. So the motion is accepted.
Okay. So we are going to now approve the April 18th, 2014 exam committee meeting minutes. So if the board members can take a look, Pittman, Francisco. Yeah. All right, so we can do the same thing. So I move to accept the meeting minutes for April 18th, 2014. You have a second?
Second.
Yep.
Public comment?
Public comment? Okay.
Okay, the motion is by Jeannie to accept the April 18, 2014 exam committee meeting minutes. Michael Cordino seconds. The vote, Kang?
Yes.
Chan?
Yes.
Cordino?
Abstain.
Francisco Shea?
Yeah.
Yeah, Francisco's
Yeah.
absent, so can he, yes?
Can accept.
Okay, you can, okay. Mateki?
Abstain.
Okay. 3-0, 2 abstentions, motion passes to accept the minutes.
Okay.
That's it.
So, 6 on the agenda, future exam committee agenda items.
Board members first.
Board members, anything?
And this might be actually a location for that herbal discussion that Dr. Marco brought up. This might be a better forum for that.
You can repeat again.
Repeat it?
Yeah.
My name is Kenneth Middlestad. I'm a current student at Southern California University of Health Sciences in the DACM program. Prospective graduation date in December of this year, so very excited. And my comment is more for awareness as well as advocacy for, we recently had 5 graduates that just graduated in April who happened to be ineligible to sit the California Acupuncture Board exam, the licensing exam. And I guess my comment is just for awareness and future discussion on that point of the fact that there's some procedural delay, of course, because of transitions and other things that we are aware of. And again, I'm not sure if this is the appropriate committee to address this issue in, but for
Can you clarify?
yes, that they were ineligible to sit for the California.
Curriculum wasn't approved.
Currently, that program's not approved,
Program's not approved yet.
but I don't believe we have to have discussion.
Okay, got it.
So yes, it's more of just an awareness. We are present here. We're very active and interested in getting this program off, and we know that there's going to be some time delays, but obviously we're very optimistic. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for the reminder. So, sorry to repeat myself. Again, the concern is the transition to the national. That occurs in the next couple of years. Right now, for the California board, there's a set amount of formulas, which is 86 or 88. And the nationals have 166. So the job analysis, occupation analysis, has it at 10.5% in terms of the percentage of the state board exam, which if you're an excellent student, actually you don't even need to open the herb section. You can easily pass the CAB and miss 10% with 2.5% guessing. A big concern for the student is, their preparation. Is it going to be upgraded? Are you actually going to double? So in theory, even though it's at 10.5%, it would be more like 20+% of the exam. Big difference from 2009 it was at 17.5, then it's dropped at 10.5, and I think it's something that we have to be prepared as an education institution. The students want to be prepared. I think the California State Board exam has enough formulas, and I believe the students are safe and effective using the herbs. However, the doubling the amount of formulas for the national is a big preparation. They all are taught those are called B formulas, but they're not the A formulas. And the students and the institution has to be ready and comply to whatever changes occur. And if you will adopt the nationals, that's a very big change. The bio section, the biomedicine section, the acupuncture section, all that would fit in with the California board, but the herb section is a big disconnect between what is currently being prepared, and we were fortunate enough to have a good turnout on our exam stats, as you will see when you review the exam stats for this last exam. However, we want to have good preparation, and importance is safety measures. So are we going to be going with the national exams, and what's going to be the outcome of your decisions on that? Thank you.
Great, thank you everyone. So item number 7 is adjournment. Adjourning the exam committee meeting as of Friday, May 26, 2017.
Okay, Dr. Michael Cordino, Chair of the Research Committee meeting, call to order and establish of a quorum, please.
Dr. Michael Cordino,
Here.
Chan,
Yes.
Jean Kane, Zamora,
Yes.
Oro, Form. Oh, Mateki. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. 5 we have.
Same comments as before to this committee meeting.
Okay, let's move to item number 2, public comments for items not on the agenda. Okay, we'll move to item number 3, update on research committee assignments. Mr. Baudet.
Thank you. Same as before. This is just spring cleaning all of our minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 4, approval of September 21st, 2016 research committee meeting minutes. Everyone takes a minute to review those. Okay, everyone okay?
Motion?
Motion to approve the minutes for the research committee from September 21st, 2016.
I second. Second. Public comment?
Public comment, please.
Okay, the motion is by Dr. Cordino to approve the September 21st Research Committee minutes. Jamie Zamora seconds the vote. Cordino?
Yes.
Chan?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Mateki?
Abstain.
Zamora?
Yes.
401, motion passes.
Okay. Let's move to the fifth item, approval of December 14, 2016 research committee minutes. Take a look at that.
Dr. Cordino, one addition will be that Amy Mateki was present at the December 14th meeting, so we will list her as committee member present.
Please. And I was absent. Okay, so first, make a motion to approve the December 14th, 2016 research committee meeting minutes.
I second.
With the change.
With the change.
Of Dr. Mateki.
Any public comment on that?
Okay, the motion is by Dr. Cordino to approve the December 14th Research Committee meeting minutes with the addition of Dr. Mateki listed as present. The second is by Jamie. The vote, Cordino?
Yes.
Chan?
Yes.
Kang?
Yes.
Mateki?
Yes.
Zamora?
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Okay, let's move to the sixth item on the agenda. Future research committee agenda items.
Anything from the board?
Anything from the board? Anything from the public? Okay. So I motion to, no motion?
You don't need to.
No motion. I'm gonna sit still. I do move to the seventh agenda item, which is to adjourn this. May 26th, Friday, 2017, research committee meeting.
Mark, please establish the quorum.
Agonado?
Here.
Shea?
Here.
Kang?
Yes.
Zamora?
Yes.
4-0, quorum established.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Not
This is-
sound like a broken record by the same comments as before.
Thank you very much, Council. This is the meeting of the Enforcement Committee. Before we start, I'd like to extend the board's gratitude to Yosan University for providing us a home for today, so thank you very much. Let's go ahead with agenda item number 2, which is public comment for items not on the agenda. We welcome the public to make comments at this time.
I'm Dr. Michael Fox. I'm representing the California Acupuncture Association. We have two concerns that some of our members have been expressing. I'd like to bring this up to the enforcement committee. One is a recent passage of a requirement that we post a certain sign notifying the public that the board regulates this. It was a recent passage and notified your members in February. Passed in October, notified in February. Many of the other boards under the DCA are providing these signs. And I know that this is a bigger problem because I visited Cummings, and they're shrinking it to fit into their pretty frames. The law specifies 48-point print. The pharmacy board, the medical board, the PT board all provide signs for their members, and I would like for you to please provide that for our licensees as an available download on the website. Many people who don't have newspaper or artisan experience don't understand what 48-point print is, and downloading that and shrinking it changes the print size, which violates the law. So I'd like to make that request. It becomes more important because in the previous meeting, one of the things that you're reviewing is penalties and Many of those penalties are considered non-professional conduct, and you have in there this sort of catch-all phrase of any other rule, regulation, or local statute. So we believe that this would fall into this non-professional conduct, of which the minimum penalty would be revocation of the license, stay revocation, and then probation for 3 years. So there's a lot of concern about simple little things like this. And many owners are confused about how to proceed when it's such a little thing that none of the other boards are revoking licenses for these little things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other public comment? Hearing none, let's move on. Agenda item number 3 is update on enforcement committee assignments. Staff.
Thank you. So we continue with the spring cleaning, and we have 3 minutes for the board to look at, the committee to look at. Thank you.
Ben, I know there was a question of why we're looking at meeting minutes from 2014. Could you just provide a general update on why that is?
Certainly. We wanted to get this into the official record for the board. Currently, these minutes have not been approved or accepted, so they're not up on the website as part of the public record. So this is important in terms of the board's history and setting policy and reviewing items that it be noted.
And even if they were not officially accepted or approved, we still take a look at them to determine what goes on the future agenda items. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wonderful. Okay. Agenda item number 4 is approval of the January 17, 2014 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes. If the board could take a look at that and provide any comments. Of course, we should have all reviewed it already prior to the meeting, but any comments provided by the board at this time? I'd love to hear them. Hearing none, I just have one. I think on item 6, line 6 says routine bases. It might be basis. Basis. B-A-S-I-S instead of B-A-S-E-S. It's the only change I noticed. Does anyone else have any comments? Okay. I move to accept the January 17, 2014 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes with the recommended change.
You can approve since all 3 of you.
We have, okay, so I move to approve the January 17, 2014 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes with the recommended change. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Well, any public comment? Wonderful, let's go ahead and take a vote.
Okay, the motion is by Hildy to approve the January 17, 2014 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes with the change made on page 6. The second is by, Jean. Okay, the vote, Argonato,
Yes.
Shea,
Yes.
Kang, Zamora,
Abstain.
301, motion passes.
Let's move on to agenda item number 5, approval of May 29, 2015 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes. And if the board can review those at this time.
No, if we weren't on it, we can't put that.
Does the board have any comments on these meeting minutes? Okay. I move to approve the December, it would be approval, right? I move to approve the December 14, 2016 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Wonderful. Any public comment? Hearing none, let's go ahead and take a vote.
Okay, the motion is by Hildy to approve the May 29, 2015 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes. The second is by Jeannie Kang. The vote, Argonato,
Yes.
Shea,
Yes.
Kang, Zamora.
Abstain.
301, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item number 7, Future Enforcement Committee agenda item.
6.
Just kidding. Let's move on to agenda item number 6, approval of December 14, 2016 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes. Is there any comment from the board about these minutes? Okay. Let's go ahead and move to the voting process. I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 14, 2016 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any public discussion? Hearing none, let's move forward with the vote.
Okay, the motion is by Hildy to approve the December 14, 2016 Enforcement Committee meeting minutes. The second is by Jeannie Kane. The vote, Agonado,
Yes.
Francisco Shea,
Yes.
Kane, Zamora.
Yes.
4-0, motion passes.
Thank you very much, Mark. Let's move to number 7 finally, Future Enforcement Committee agenda items. If there's any discussion first from the board about anything that we should place on the agenda for the next time. Hearing none, let's move to the public. Hearing none, let's move on to number 8, adjournment. Thank you very much. This has been adjourned.
Call for the order for established quorum for this committee meeting.
Okay, Chan,
Yes.
Agonado,
Yes.
Shea,
Yes.
Zamora.
Yes.
4-0, quorum established, Kevin.
Same comment?
Any public comment? Item number 2, any public comment not on the agenda? No? Then we move to the item number 3, updating the executive committee assignment. And then,
Thank you. Again, we're just doing some spring cleaning. One of Kipman's goals for the executive committee is also to be looking at the budget, which we are looking at closely. That is all.
okay, move to the item number 4, approve May 29, year 2015 executive committee meeting minute. Any board member have any comment? Any public comment?
We'll take the motion first.
Oh, make a motion first. Let me make a motion to approve the May 29, year 2015 executive committee meeting minute. Any second?
I second.
Any public comment? No, let's vote.
Okay, the motion is by Kip and Chan to approve the May 29, 2015 Executive Committee meeting minutes. The second is by Francisco Shea. The vote, Chan,
Yes.
Agonado,
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Okay, Francisco, you were not at that one, so I think you probably should abstain. Okay, Zamora?
Yes.
Okay, you were not there.
Actually, oh, I would.
No.
I missed the meeting. That might have been the one I missed.
Okay.
I think you would accept, maybe you should change the
Okay.
motion to accept the minutes, because I think you only have two.
Since we have a motion on the floor, would the proper procedure be to withdraw?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Sorry.
Yeah, Kipman motion.
You say withdraw your motion. Okay.
Withdraw.
We can start over.
We'll have to withdraw the motion and suggest it with accept as opposed to approve.
Sorry.
Because Jamie is listed as not being
Oh.
present, we have to withdraw the motion to accept, to approve the meeting minutes and offer it as accepting from the minutes.
To withdraw the motion.
Yeah, because
Okay.
you motioned
Yeah,
originally.
because Jamie had some comment and I'm going to withdraw the motion and to make the motion again to accept the minute on the May 29, year 2015 Executive Committee meeting.
Second.
Public comment?
Any public comment? Let's vote.
Okay, the motion is by Kip and Chan to accept the May 29th, 2015 Executive Committee meeting minutes. The second is by Zamora. The vote, Chan,
Yes.
Agonado,
Yes.
Shea,
Yes.
Zamora,
Abstain.
4-0, the motion, 301, the motion is passed.
Okay, move to the item number 5, future executive committee agenda item. Any board member have any comment? Any public comment? So that's easy. So move to the number 6, adjourn.
Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break before we start with the full board meeting. We'll be back here at 9:50. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mark, if you could take roll, please.
Agonado,
Here.
Zamora,
Here.
Chan,
Here?
Cordino,
Here.
Shea,
Here.
Kane,
Present.
Mateki.
Here.
7-0 quorum.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'd like to welcome everyone to the second Acupuncture Board meeting of the year. This meeting is being held at the Yosan University of Traditional Medicine. We are here on the second floor, which is apparently their Tai Chi studio. It's a beautiful facility, and we have experienced your warm hospitality with all the coffee and snacks. So thank you very much for having us and for providing us with a home today. So thank you very much again. This meeting is being held after this morning's committee meetings. We were able to finish all of our committee meetings in about 45 minutes, so we're trying to work as expeditiously as possible. So we're going to try to do the same thing to this full board full board meeting as well. And it is also a meeting that's taken place at the conclusion of 4 years of service on the Acupuncture Board for many of us on this board. So it's a great time for reflection. It's hard to believe that 4 years have gone by so quickly, but that doesn't mean that there's not more work to do. There's always more work to do, and we're here to serve and to do the community well. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you, and then let's move on to the third agenda item here, which is the election of officers.
Shall I take the lead? Or?
Yes, please.
So I'm open to hearing nominations for the position of president of the board
Yeah,
next year.
I'd like to make a nomination for Hildy, and she be a president of the board the last year, and under her leadership with Jamie, we all the board work very hard and together to meet the sunset report requirement. And we are forming so many committee meetings to tackle all the issues. Under her leadership, I think our board is a function very efficient. So I like to nominate her and continue to serve the board as a president.
I second.
Any second?
I second.
Okay.
Do I hear any other nominations for position of president for the board? Hearing none, can we vote now on that? Or?
You can take a vote.
Okay, thank you. Public comment? Hearing none, we now move to a vote.
Okay, the nomination is by Kipman to have Hildy. Does Hildy accept the nomination?
I am honored to accept, yes.
Okay. Francisco Shea is the second, so we will take a vote. Algonado?
Yes?
Okay. Zamora?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Chan?
Yes.
Cordino?
Yes.
Shea?
Yes.
Jeannie Kang?
Yes.
And Mateki.
Yes.
Okay. 7-0. Hildy is our new board president.
I'm very honored. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Moving on to the vice president. Do I hear a nomination for vice president of the board?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Kipman Chan.
Okay, we have a nomination for Kipman Chan.
I would like to nominate Amy.
Amy Mateki. Okay. Do I hear any other nominations?
No, I because my conflict schedule, I'm not accept this nomination.
Okay. We currently have Amy nominated for vice president. Do we have any other nominations? Do we have a second for the nomination for?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay. Like Ordino. Amy, would you accept this position?
Yes, I'm honored. Thank you.
And if we can take a vote. Oh, public comment. Hearing none, we now move to the vote.
Okay. The nomination is for Dr. Amy Mateki to be vice president of the Acupuncture Board by Francisco Shea. Dr. Cordino seconds. The vote. Agonado.
Yes.
Zamora.
Yes.
Chan.
Yes.
Cordino.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Kang.
Yes.
And Mateki.
Yes.
All right, 7-0. Amy is our new vice president.
Thank you.
Oh, ceremoniously.
No,
Real right now.
The meeting is going.
There's
going to be a hook coming out, Jamie, pretty soon.
Sorry, to your point of order, we want to make clear when the term becomes effective on the record. So why don't you just have a discussion of that. And
The term becomes effective at the next meeting, is that correct? Okay, so no need to unceremoniously strip Jamie of his name tag right now. We'll do all of that at the next meeting, but thank you very much, all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hildy.
My pleasure. Let's move on to number 5, President's Report. I have, why am I crossing things out prematurely? Number 4 is public comment for items not on the agenda. We'd like to accept public comments at this time. And please remember to speak up. We're all being televised right now, so we want to make sure that everyone's on camera.
Oh, yeah. Okay. My name is Jennifer Naborikawa, and I am currently a DACM student at the Southern California University of Health Sciences. My expected graduation date is December this year, and I'm really excited, but we did have a graduating class that just finished, 5 really talented young women who graduated but were ineligible to sit CALE this August because of the current pending status of our curriculum review, so I just wanted that to be on the agenda for next time if possible. I know our curriculum was designed to meet and exceed our master's program, which is currently in good standing and approved. So I just thought I would reiterate for the sake of the minutes. So that's all.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Hearing none, let's move on. Number 5 is the President's Report. I have nothing to report at this time, but you'll hear me throughout the entire meeting making comments randomly. So thank you very much. Agenda item number 6 is staff reports. I'm going to hand that over to Ben.
Thank you, Hildy. For the staff update, the board has filled the vacancy for the 2 analyst positions, one in continuing education unit and the other in the examination unit. They started on March 1st. The board now does have 2 vacancies for the technicians, which we are in the middle of the hiring process for. Budget update, you have the fund conditions and budget analysis, budget report for 16-17 fiscal year in the booklet. You'll note that right now we're projected to be $410,000 under our budget limit. So we're doing well. A lot of these savings came from having the vacancies last year. As acting EO, I was not getting the pay for the EO until later in the year, so we had some savings there, as well as the exam position was vacant for a long time as well. In addition, there was the AG costs were lower than the budgeted amount. You'll note that the budgeted amount is $386,000. Currently, we've only spent $206,000, but we will be getting updates to that as we cross over to the next fiscal year. So that number will most likely change. Any questions from board members? Hearing none, we can move to the examination statistics for the March 21st, 2017 exam. And I would like to point out that we have a number of schools that did receive very high pass rates. And the first time test taker pass rate was at 78%, and the retakers pass rate was at 31%. So again, this really reinforces that the retakers can drop the overall average of the test very low, 31% pass rate. Any questions from the board members?
Yeah, look at this statistic, and we talked about in the year 2014 to how to eliminate how many time the exam the taker should be taking, and what kind of course they should provide to this taker in order to prove they pass the exam. So since year 2014, and the rate is about the same. So looks like the board have to do something about this and make sure that the taker had really study hard and to try to pass the exam, because otherwise the statistic always the taker is around 20 to 25%. And the first time is always 1/3, 2/3, or even more. So the average hour is less than 50%. So the board have to consider to have some kind of guideline to the school or to anybody can help to improve this score. The takers, how do they pass the exam? Because if you don't have the limit or the cap on it, the people just taking. And the last I heard is that some people take 18 times the exam. Even though they are willing to pay for it, but why are you taking it if you don't think you can pass? It's waste their money and their time, and also our board's the resources. So I like to the board to consider.
Thank you. Noted. And yes, the board has talked about that in the past and caps, and with the discussion on the moving to the NCCOM caps it at 5 times as well. So the board will definitely be discussing this in the future. Should the president wish.
I think that a helpful statistic here would be to find out, really break down what the passage rates have been for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and so on test takers. The statistics available to us on this sheet say overall, so it includes all re-examinees, and I think if we really understood the distribution of the students that are passing at each time they take it, it would provide us with additional context.
Yes, and right now I do have the exam unit in their lull cycles of the 2 exams a year working on that, and we will be able to have the rates for each time, the number of retakers and the rates for their passing. We hope to provide that at the September board meeting.
did this raise to the level of interest that we need, maybe we should send it to the examination committee to discuss?
Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Okay. So I just want to know is like should we have a board staff take a look at what other board, how many times like a whole, at these, there's a time limit.
Certainly.
How many times? So what about the chiropractic board or therapist or physician assistant board? So let's take a look at how many times.
In addition to what Amy just said, I also would like to take a look at the minutes of the past meetings. There was legal counsel advice on this. So I would like to look back, like about 2-3 years when Mr. Walker was legal counsel, there was a specific reason why he stated what he stated in that meeting. I remember specifically, I just don't remember what year that was.
Sure.
If we can go check back on the minutes of legal counsel's advice to the situation, that would be also part of the discussion as well, I think.
So we'll be sure to include that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Members, no more questions on the exam? All right. Moving on to item 6A4, the outreach update. Medicine Day. On March 11th, I was invited to the Medicine Day celebration in Northern California in San Francisco. I was in attendance with Amy Mateki, Dr. Amy Mateki, Kidman Chan, and Francisco Scher. And was able to meet a lot of the members of the acupuncture community in the Bay Area, in Northern California, as well as the Chinese American community and the Chinese community that was visiting. And it was a pleasure to meet all those people. It was just a dinner with a couple speeches. Any questions from the board member on that?
Yeah, because they invite all the board members. However, LA members probably too far away. They didn't have attend this celebration.
And San Diego.
Yeah, also San Diego.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, moving on. CCAOM. This last week, actually, from the 16th through the 19th, Jay Hurt, the education coordinator for the board, and I were invited to speak at CCAOM, and we want to extend our thank you to the organization and the member schools. It was very informative. It was very educational, actually, in seeing how the CCAOM operates and how the schools communicate with each other. The board was asked to make a presentation on the status of the NCCAOM, which I'll go into specifics later, and as well as discuss SB 1246 regulatory implementation. And I was able to offer, I was offered a forum for the schools and the respective training programs to ask questions directly to the board. So I felt it was very constructive to be able to address those concerns directly to each of those members. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity. It was a very good time. Any questions from the members? Yes. And we hope to hear more from CCAOM in the future. And please keep us apprised of any public information that you can send us.
I also encourage and support further communication and further participation of the board for you to attend these meetings, because I think that hasn't happened in the past, and I think the fact that it's happened this time is a big positive, and hope you get invited to further meetings.
Thank you. Can we get clarification though in terms of how many board members can attend?
I think it's more the EO, because the EO invited the EO, right?
Yeah,
Right.
you can attend.
So
If you
10
have-
members. So how many board members can we go?
Well, you don't want to have a
Right.
majority at a,
Anything more than two?
yeah. Actually, there is an exception. So if it's let me look into it and I'll get back to you on how many, if you attend the board.
I'm pretty sure it's not
members to
everyone.
go, as opposed to
Right,
the
yeah.
EO.
Okay.
This was also our state.
Correct, thank you. This meeting was being held in Milwaukee. So,
The meeting law still apply though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know state.
You can't go out of state. It's a
Meet in
bad rule.
Arizona.
I hope so, right?
Another item I wanted to address about the CCAO.
Oh,
Well, I just want to know because before I become the board member, I went to those meetings just for the professional side of it. So I just wanted to see if, become a board member, if there's a number limitation, do I need to report to the legals before I join, or how this will work? I would like to know.
We will vet that through the legal process and get back to board members on how to participate. Should CCAOM also want to have board members present in the meeting.
But the question is, I already go there as a
Before.
physician, yeah,
Mhm.
so just for my side of
Mhm.
it, not as a board member.
Mhm.
So if I go to attend those meetings because the position, so how this will work?
Right. So we'll make sure to get clarification
Thank
on
you.
your previous status and your current status. One last time I wanted to address about the CCAOM meeting is that we also had the opportunity to visit with ACAOM, the Accreditation Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, as well as the National Commission for the Certification of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, the NCCOM. And we were able to just meet with them as well and discuss together with the council members the plan moving forward, both in terms of accreditation, candidacy status for ACOM schools is now changing to pre-accreditation, and so we were able to discuss those items and address the council members with that, as well as the NCCOM with this move slated for the future. Thank you.
Thank you for continuing to have that dialogue, and I think it's very important that we maintain that open line of communication with both ACOM and NCCAOM.
Thank you.
Ben, can I add one thing? Just one small thing?
Yes.
Just the CCOM, the acronym stands for the Council of Colleges of Acupuncture and Oil and Medicine, and they have 55 members, and to be a member, you have to be an ACOM participant. So, we weren't able to attend everything. We were able to attend the public sessions and certain ones that were allowed, but even in those sessions, we were asked to leave, but they kind of went into their own closed session. But I just wanted to clear up the acronym.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a quick public comment.
Probably gonna do it, but you can do it now, but also at the end for all of it.
Lincoln Empress College. I just really want to thank Ben and Jay for taking the time to attend the meeting. In the decade of attending the Council of Colleges meeting, we've never had a representative from the California Acupuncture Board, so it was a great gesture, and you answered so many questions that our member institutions had. There are a number of institutions outside of California working to get their curriculum approved by CAB. And so it was just great to have you there making your formal presentation, but also there informally to get to know the council members and to, for you to understand what goes into running a school. There are a lot of issues, and so it's great to have you there. And as you know, the Council of Colleges, the Accreditation Commission, and the National Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, these are the vital organs in the AOM profession. So for CAP to be there and to communicate with these organizations and to learn about all the issues that we are facing right now, I hope it was helpful for you, and it was really helpful for the schools as well. So thank you. Thank you for supporting the staff and attending the meeting. I hope you will attend again.
What's your title there?
My title? I'm the secretary of the Council of Colleges of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, so I'm on the executive committee and chair of the faculty development committee and the ad hoc committee on California legislative affairs. So,
thank you.
I have some clarification on the question about attending conferences, board members. Majority of the board members can attend conferences as long as they do not discuss among themselves business that could be under the jurisdiction of the board while they're there. It's part of a scheduled program, and they give any talks, then it's okay, as long as they're not discussing among themselves issues that are related to the board. And as far as individual meetings, as long as you're not representing that your position as being the position of the board, you're able to attend those individually.
I also wanted to point out that outreach for the board is one of our strategic plan goals, and I feel that we really were able to move forward by being able to attend the CCAOM meetings. So I think that was excellent. Any further comments? Item number 5, the strategic plan update. So in December of last year, I went through our entire strategic plan and informed the board and the public about its status. So I wanted to give you an update of what we've completed since then. Item 2.1, review of disciplinary guidelines and regulatory standards to determine if standards needs revision, is in process right now. We will be bringing that language to the board, actually brought it at the last meeting. As well as item 2.2, strengthen the board's enforcement authority through the implementation of uniform standards related to substance abuse and recommended guidelines for disciplinary orders and probation, and the Consumer Protection Enforcement Initiative. So those are very near completion themselves. In addition, I wanted to announce that for the education goals, the board is now contracted with Solid, an office within the department that helps to organize and process map different functions of the board, to hold a stakeholder meeting. And we are looking to hold a stakeholder meeting in the north, in the Sacramento Bay Area region, as well as in the south, to discuss items 3.1 and 3.2, and perhaps even include item 3.3. We have to limit how much we're looking to do at a stakeholder meeting. We need to keep it very focused. But we're looking to seek public input and stakeholder input on the curriculum standards, and as Yoon Kim mentioned earlier, looking at the supervision of students in the clinic, this would be part of that curriculum review. So we really hope to have active participation from our stakeholders in that process. We really need your input on that. And we will be communicating both on our announcement pages as well as our emailing list, the dates of that once they have been formalized. Thank you. Any questions? All right. Item number 6, the 2016-2017 accomplishments letter. So this letter was requested by Senator Bates at the Sunset Review hearing back in March of 2016. And what she wanted was an update on what the board has done in the time since that hearing. So included in the packet is a somewhat exhaustive list of what the board's done in this year since the Sunset hearing. And I just want to thank the board for meeting 11 times last year, as well as board staff for facilitating all of that and really moving forward a number of items. And as well as our stakeholders, in terms of with SB 1246, that went back and forth at least 3 times for us to get public comment and refine the language. So it was a very active process. And as you may have seen in the last 2 meetings, we're moving forward with other regulations, especially disciplinary guidelines and uniform standards. So we've been very busy. And I'd be happy to address any questions that members might have.
Have we received a response yet to your letter?
There has been no response as of yet.
Which is a good sign.
Excellent.
And then just to clarify, this is a 6-page letter of everything we've done in the past year. So there's a lot of material here, and all of that would not have happened without the collaboration of the board, especially the staff, and more especially the stakeholders. So I really appreciate everyone's input, particularly Ben and Jamie, in providing substantive feedback in preparing a very exhaustive letter that we presented to the Joint Committee. So thank you very much for your work on this. This is truly a remarkable set of accomplishments.
Thank you. All right, item number 7. The NCCAOM, or the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine Examination Update. Dr. Corey Ward-Cook and I have been in communication, not only at the CCAOM meeting, but for the months preceding. As you know, at the June 10th, 2016 meeting, the board voted to support moving towards utilizing the NCCAOM exam, along with the California supplemental, no earlier than 2019. And so we've been communicating about this process. The board has audited the NCCAOM exam and has reviewed that at past meetings. What is happening now is that we are awaiting for the NCCAOM to conduct their job analysis. This is very similar to the board's occupational analysis. And that will be running during the month of July. And this will be open to all licensees, including California licensees. So we are urging all licensees that hear this message, and any associations or schools here, to also push this message out, that California licensees taking this job analysis will be able to help give a clearer picture of what the NCCAOM will be testing on in the future. So right now we are awaiting that to be completed. We expect to hear before the end of 2017, before the board can then move forward and negotiate a lot of the questions that were brought up at the June 10th meeting. Items such as cost, reciprocity for currently licensed individuals, perhaps even like the herb list. There was a number of items that we will talk, but we can't really begin those negotiations until we have a good standard to compare both the exams. And
Could we take public comment on this?
Yeah.
On all of them?
We can either do it at the end, or we can allow individuals to come up for this item.
Whatever you prefer.
So the board will be announcing on its website, and again to this list, the address for NCCAOM's occupational analysis. We really want to support California licensees, help paint a clear picture for national certification as well as California licensing. This will also inform us of how to develop a supplemental, should we move down this path, to make sure we are testing California-specific information as well. Any questions from board members? Okay. I have one more item to discuss, so we can open up to public comment in case anyone wants to discuss any of these items that I've addressed at that point. Item 8, Sunset Report Update. This is to inform board members and the public that we have begun the Sunset Review process. We've been given the template for last year's Sunset Review report, and we are to utilize that for now. We will be expecting an updated template for this year's report, but there usually aren't very many changes, so we're moving forward now. Staff has been assigned all the various questions to address, and it's looking good. But this is a long process for the board to understand. Staff will be drafting the responses on this. I request that we have an ad hoc committee of no more than 2 members, so that once the rough draft is up and running, we can submit it to the board members in this ad hoc committee for review and comments before we bring it to the full board for review and approval. The report itself, after approved by the board, it must be approved by the board, is sent to the committees, the BMP committees, and has to be, the deadline is December 1st. So we will bring this content hopefully to the September board meeting. We will be looking at new calendar dates for the board meetings later, so whatever the next meeting will be, and as well as an additional meeting prior to that December 1st date for the board. Any questions from the board?
When do we know when we'd actually get the questions or the responses to the concerns they had?
The concerns they have? Yeah, so they will receive that report and review it between December and January, and then in February they will issue their background paper, or at the very end of January. They've been moving deadlines a bit in terms of the hearings. Last year it was in March. This year they're anticipating that it might be taking place at the end of February. So they've moved up just a little bit, and they're trying to also stagger it because, as Jamie and Hildy might recall, it was a packed hearing. So a lot of people speak at those meetings. a lot of stakeholders come to those meetings, and we appreciate our stakeholders also attending. Any other questions? We can take public comment now on any items I've addressed in the update.
Jacques Marmarco, Andrews College Academic Dean. So one of the concerns was what you just mentioned, the national doing their own job analysis, occupation analysis. How does that superimpose with what you have done? And you've created many different questions. As an example, besides the herb, the content of that analysis showed that many practitioners are going to these seminar, Master Doom being one, or Richard Tan. Those two schools are family schools. They're not established schools. It's not taught in the PRC's main curriculum or at Kyunghee or at Meiji College. These are specific family-based schools, and they are fine to be taken as a postgraduate, as a licensee, to learn different type of styles of acupuncture. However, they're not the mainstream of acupuncture, and it's a little bit concerning when that analysis comes in and all of a sudden, now it's very fashionable to do Master Doom. Well, Master Doom is a very specific style that was developed by a specific family. It's not mainstream. And as an example, we want to talk about mainstream. I believe you do test on auricular points. However, you don't test on nogiate points. That's way much more mainstream than either Master Doom or Richard Tan. Richard Tan happened to have been one of my students at California Acupuncture College over 30-some years ago, 34 years ago. And this is something that he developed. It's not based on a family tradition. And this is not a secret. Dr. Carradino knows about it. So I think it's really important to differentiate what is solid versus what has come about. Case in point, Master Doom was specific extraordinary point. After he's deceased, they created a system around it. But this is a new creation. Doesn't mean that it's not effective the same way as Korean hand acupuncture is very effective, and I don't believe you test on it. So, you really have to see what is taught at a master's level and what is the competencies that is needed to take the exam and to be a safe practitioner, and what is the extra or the fluff, which is all these other things that are add-ons. That's my own comment.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Questions? That concludes my report.
I think Jacques brings up a really interesting point regarding all the different
Microsystems.
Okay, let's use that word, microsystems, from China, Japan, or Korea, because there are a lot, and there's a lot out there, and a lot of continuing education around it. And if this is something that's going to impact the examination, it might serve us to bring it to a committee level. I think would it be an education committee or an exam committee, one of those, whatever fits best, to kind of actually do a thorough understanding of all those different, schools of thought that are effective. We do use commonly, and everyone knows about it. How do we really address that issue? Because some of these things are always being used, and some of them are even being taught at universities, in the really important universities, even in Asia. So because we're Californians and we have all of that coming into our culture, it might be a good time to really look at that if it's going to impact examination. So maybe that's something that we can talk about at a committee level and bring it back to the board at some point as a thorough discussion.
I support moving that to the committee level. If we're supposed to take action prior to 2019 and really hit the ground running by that time, it's important that we have robust discussion much sooner than later on this, and really invite conversation and participation from the stakeholders as well. But I hope you and Jeannie, as the chair of the examination committee.
Which committee would that go into, exam or exam? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to I think we have a good membership in our committee to really address it, and then we'd be welcome to bring have professionals come in and comment on that. But we've never done that at the CAB level, and I think it is something that would benefit. Really have experts come in and talk about all those that level of information. So we as a board could also be educated on so what is really being taught out there, and how is that affecting our students going out there to practice.
To the extent as possible, let's make that a priority for the examination committee. I know our council's recommendation was that we limited the committee members to 3, so we should evaluate the constitution of the committee members prior to doing that, because they're going to have a lot of conversation at that level. So let's put that on our to-do list as well to revisit the committee assignments and make sure that we're in compliance with the 3-member, particularly for the examination committee, given this work.
So thank you, Jacques, for bringing that up to our attention. I appreciate it. It's much needed, I believe.
Let's move on to the enforcement report. Christine?
So this report is covering quarter 3, which are the months from January 1st to March 31st. There was a total of 68 complaints received, and of those, actually some of the complaints from the previous quarter carried over. 81 complaints were closed, referred for investigation.
Speak out, Christine, please.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Thank you. I'm kind of pointed away. And also there was an average intake time of 5 days. Of the 6 criminal charges and convictions that were received, 2 were received on applicants and 4 were received on licensees. If you look at the bar graph, it's just a visual of the complaint breakdown by complaint type. And for the investigations, there were a total of 79 investigations initiated. At the close of the quarter, there were 134 investigations pending and 78 investigations closed, with an average amount of days of 119. And then we have a case aging for our closed investigations by each month, number of cases that were closed out, and the average number of days it took to conduct that investigation. There were also 3 cases actually referred for disciplinary action to the Attorney General's office, 12 cases pending with the Attorney General's office, just 1 accusation or statement of issues filed during that time, and 6 decisions that became effective, 1 resulting in a voluntary surrender, and the other 5 in probation. Our average overall process time during that time for all of those 6 cases, from complaint receipt to the effective decision date, came out to be 820 days. 11 citations issued, and our open probation cases is getting pretty heavy at 41 that are pending. I won't read through this whole analysis here, but what we do is, just like before, we compare last quarter's fiscal year 15-16 quarter 3 to this year's. Just a few noteworthy complaint trends. This quarter saw a decrease in complaints compared to this time last year from 84 to 68. This represents a 19% decrease in volume. The other noteworthy change in complaint volume between last year and this year are for unlicensed complaints. Last year we only received 4, whereas this year we received 13, which is a 225% increase. Our investigation trends, there was 204 investigations pending last year, whereas this year in the close of quarter 3 there were just 134 investigations pending, which shows a 34% decrease. The other noteworthy change is the average investigation time decreasing by 44% from 213 days last year to 119 days this year. The formal discipline trends, the discipline statistics show that referrals for discipline have slowed significantly. Another change in disciplinary statistics is the number of cases pending with the Attorney General's office. Last year in quarter 3 there were a total of 29 cases pending. However, this year there were just 12 cases pending at the close of quarter 3, which is a 59% decrease. So a lot of our cases that were pending have all, mostly closed out. So this is a pretty low amount of cases pending with the AGs.
I have a question. So from the top paragraph, the increase, the 225% increase, can you just comment on that a little bit more? like there are 4 of 13 cases that were unlicensed complaints. Can you just kind of walk us through
Like why
yeah, what
for that
kind of
particular complaint?
what kind of unlicensed
Oh, that we're seeing?
Mm-hmm.
It varies. It varies. Sometimes it could be that somebody it doesn't have the correct spelling of a name, and it may initiate, start out as an unlicensed case, and then we're able to, identify who they are. Sometimes it's actual licensees that are now delinquent, considered, or they're canceled, so then it's treated as an unlicensed. Or it's just, we're getting people that are unlicensed. Practicing. So it varies.
Because I hear about this in the community. There's a lot of unlicensed practitioners practicing, and patients they say, oh, they're famous or they're this, and they go, and sometimes very rarely, but there was a case where someone died from something like this, and it became a big deal in our community. So when it goes up this high, like it doesn't seem like not a big number, but it actually affects us kind of exponentially as a profession. So what, in cases like this, what can we do as a board to prevent something like this from happening?
To prevent it,
and it may not be a question for you, but even just for our board members,
Encourage people who see this to file a written complaint with the board, because that way we can really take action on it and investigate. So that's something that's very important to do.
Yeah.
And there's also the notice to consumers as it gets out further that we are requiring that sign to be posted, and we can look at providing a template or a simple form.
I think it's an educational piece to consumers, because this is something that is really more prevalent in the community than we know, but I know it's happening because I hear about it all the time, and we're doing so well. I really thank you so much for the report, because I really looked at this, and there's a lot of great things happening for us as far as with decreases, but this is one of the largest increases, and it's something that we should be mindful about.
Definitely. And continued action on enforcement action on the part of the board does also address this issue, but we can also look at greater public outreach.
And I was also very encouraged to see the much lower sexual misconduct numbers, because I think those numbers were a little bit higher, and I commented on it last year. And the fact that this time it's very, very low, I'm very encouraged about that, because that's something that we as a board, as well as other boards, that we're really cracking down on. So I'm really encouraged by that. So, thank you. Thank you very much for all your work. Really appreciate it.
Jeannie makes a great point. The other part of that paragraph that I think was concerning also is the decrease in complaints from 84 to 68, which is almost 20% of the decrease. So do you have any further information, Christine, on whether that's because people are just reporting less, or what is the cause of that decrease, if you have information?
I think possibly last year at this time we were opening up some of the CE audit failures. And so there was kind of a high surge, last year during this quarter 3. So that's possibly why there's such a large difference. But I have to look and compare complaint types to know for sure. But I think memory serves that might be a contributing factor.
I think if this trend continues, possibly into another quarter, we should look into possible reasons why that is. Of course, if there is a decrease in complaints because there is a decrease in the number of things to complain about, that's good.
Right.
But if there's a decrease in complaints because people aren't reporting things that they should be, that's something we should worry about. So we should do a review of the materials available to consumers to make complaints, and really do a second scan to make sure that everybody is robustly reporting.
Right.
And properly reporting.
When even internally, Cricket and I will notice it's sort of erratic, like week to week, like one week we'll get it'll, seem like, oh wow, there's so many, 7, and then another week it's like, oh, there's 1. It's just, it is all over the place, so it is good to look at it.
And I'll comment on another area where it might be more appropriate, but as far as the CEUs and the random audits that we do, I think that's, I think we have a lot of the big bulk, the sensor review, under control now, but the CEU area is an area I think we really do need to look at to decrease those numbers, there's too many, possibly increase fees, and like how do we really get control over the quality of CE providers that we approve? Wherever that fits that conversation, I would like to repeat that because I think that's another area this year we need to kind of tackle. Like,
It is one of our strategic
Yes.
plan items.
Yes.
And we are taking a look at that.
Great. I encourage it. Thank you. Thank you, Christine.
If there are no further questions, we'll do public comment for the enforcement report at the end of these three subpoints. So let's move on to B2, which is the NPDB National Practitioner Database update.
Yeah. Also, this last quarter marked the completion of that project with the basically enrolling all of the out-of-state licensees and out-of-state applicants, which was pursuant to a motion and a decision that the board took. And so a total of 1,287 applicants and licensees were enrolled. The queries that we ran, when you run a query in the NPDB, we're looking to see if there were any type of adverse actions, malpractice complaints would come up, or any formal discipline from other states, or just anything that would come up that's reported to the data bank. And so of those 1,287, it only produced 16 reports, 10 of which we've opened for further investigation. The other 6 were actually prior acupuncture board actions. And then each enrollment will stay active for a year, which they were put in at different times. So some actually have already expired. And so far we have not received any subsequent adverse actions that have come in during the time that they're enrolled.
So I remember we made a vote to be part of the NPDB at the lowest rate because it was quite costly for us to do that. Now, do you find that it's been beneficial for us to be enrolled as part of that, pay that sum? Is that information sufficient for us to get the data we need, or do we need to move into another rate that's higher? Because I know we were at the lowest rate of going in. What's going to work?
The rates, I think when you guys initially reviewed the issue, the rates were different. There was like one-time query and continuous query. Well, now it's the same rates. So by the time that we enrolled, it was the same rate. So then you guys had to determine what level of population of the licensees or applicants do you want to look at.
Right.
And you guys had chose the out-of-state to focus in on. And I feel that the return that we got with just getting this 16, but really just 10 out of 1,287 wasn't real, didn't really produce a whole lot. And also a lot of them are older actions, so it's like, wow, it's already been like 15 years since this happened.
Right.
So then you're looking at, was this reported to us if it needed to be? So it's not super beneficial, but it was good to do a one-time, put them in there, let's see what comes up. And there were some things that we were unaware of. And there are some things that were more egregious that we're still looking into. But it's just like, as far as like numbers, it's very low.
So if that was to change to in-state information, because I think it was more costly for us to do the in-state.
It's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything.
We did in-state and out-of-state.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But we only entered the names
Right.
out-of-state licensees.
Just out-of-state licensees and applicants. However, any actions that are reported will be in-state or out-of-state.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is the fee that we paid was limiting because it was like there were several different span of fees depending on how much information we wanted. I remember we went with the lowest one. Do you remember this, Ben?
It was the one time, or no,
Right.
the continuous one.
We went with continuous because by the time that you guys made the decision, NPDB actually changed the charge to the same.
Okay.
So if you do a one-time query, it's the same thing as a continuous query, same charge. So we did continuous, which meaning they could be enrolled for a year, and then they expire, and then you have to do it again. So
So at this point, the fee wasn't an issue. It was like,
Yeah, actually, no, that's not an issue. It's just like, okay, do you want to put in every single licensing and look at? I know you guys just wanted to start at the out-of-state and get sort of an indication. And we're continuing to put in our out-of-state applicants each time they apply. It hasn't really produced a lot.
I guess I just wanted to look at because it was a sort of fee and cost and how beneficial was it, because that was like our first time of us doing that and we voted on it. So going forward, is this something that we still want to participate in? Is it the same, the same quality that we want, or do we want to up, the kind of information we get from them? Because it's important for us to be participating. I think that's what we voted on, but going forward, we should evaluate that and put it on a committee level of attention so we can further examine what's best way to go about it. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's what you guys had wanted to do. You wanted kind of some feedback and see how this round went. I know some boards, they have done through like kind of a dump of all of their licensees at one time and just got it out of the way to see if there was any actions. Because the cost is the same for both one time or continuous. It's pretty low. We could do it in kind of sections, so if you guys wanted to do that, the only thing is that we didn't quite consider is the staff it takes to do it, because it's manual entry. I have really, really tried to work with I tried to do it myself and work with our IT and even work with NPD's IT to figure out how to query our database, get that data, and just put it in automatically. I was not successful with that. So it was a manual thing. So basically it was almost, it was a lot of our staff working on it and manually entering each person. So that's the only deterrent there. Not really a money thing.
It's more
just
of
a manpower,
manpower time thing. Something to look at, I think, because that could tell us more information about the applicants and respondents.
Well, public protection is paramount, so
Huge.
we definitely want to consider this as a enforcement committee item, perhaps, to be considered. But it does affect workload. If we have to divert 4 staff to input just 1,200 names, it does mean we have to move things around, but that doesn't mean we can't.
So I think, Ben, just give us kind of like an overview, like priority level wise, how having to do this thoroughly for public protection on a priority list of how impactful that is for us.
I can get back to you. I think it would be helpful if we can look at how other boards that have completed this requirement are moving forward from this point. I would like to point out that this was a criticism in a background paper, Sunset Review of the board, I believe 2, if not 4 years ago. So we did see this as a high priority item, and now we've complied.
So let's moving forward, let's see what we can do. Please give us an overview.
Go ahead. I look at the unprofessional conduct. There always is a high number. Do the enforcement? Do they have the data to analyze in what kind of unprofessional conduct most people and committed? So I think if we can category and then put some in the education committee and put some cost on the effort to make sure those categories can be reduced by the education. And I mean, every time the unprofessional conduct, the case is always high. So can we have some kind of analyze for what kind of unprofessional conduct, and then we can, either through the education, continuing education or effort to educate those professional licensee in order to not have that many unprofessional conduct. So I think it's a more proactive, because we spend a lot of time to close this case, okay? And every meeting, every year, the numbers are always high compared from another category. So we have to do some proactive to make sure reduce this number.
It's a also high because it's a big catch-all. I mean, like, basically, like, there's so many different things that are categorized under unprofessional conduct. So we're limited by the database and the categories that are within it. So a lot of times that's the most applicable thing to put in. You can't put in like, oh, an address problem or false misleading advertising. It's like that all comes under unprofessional conduct. So to further analyze the specific, kind of conduct might be difficult because there isn't a way in the database to function or to, catch or record that, down to that specifics.
I'm trying to say is that if we can analyze and the education, continual education, effort of education can tackle those issues, so then the professional, unprofessional conduct will reduce. I'm not saying you can cover all. We just try to see whether this continual education effort program can reduce to this unprofessional conduct, and let them concentrate on those subjects and unprofessional conduct. And because it is a very broad and different kind of unprofessional conduct, but can the education, continual education effort can tackle this issue? And even the very small issue, a very small number, but this can help because this is continued. It's not one-shot deal.
You just said that the way it's broken down is vague. So the programmatic of how the computer breaks it down is vague. Is that the issue?
Correct. Like there's I think there's 6 or 7 different categories that we can, plug into the system and categorize it. It's based on a menu. So that's what I'm saying. If we want to further analyze the different types of unprofessional conduct, there's a little open field for comments where we kind of briefly summarize the complaint. So it's a matter of us using an ad hoc system and querying and then looking at those notes. So it's not down to a science of knowing, what to highlight.
Is it possible then, since I'm not aware of what those 6 or 7 categories are, that review can at least
actually
is there
it's these.
What's these?
So however many that is.
Okay, so it is broken down.
It's 11.
So these are the categories that you're talking about in which the message content is broken down.
No, these are the 11 different DCA categories we can categorize a complaint.
Right.
But unprofessional conduct captures so many different types of violations that are not
in that category.
In these other categories, yeah.
Okay. Would it be beneficial for the board for the next report, and then the way you're doing these great reports, which has been really helpful for us? What are those 6 or 7 breakdowns within the unprofessional conduct to just inform us about that?
It's
Not
based
to
upon
analyze,
it's based upon the statute really.
Okay.
So 4955, there's all the different subsections.
Okay.
So if it violates one of those subsections under 4955, then it would be logged under unprofessional conduct. Except there's some exceptions like unsafe, unsanitary conditions. That's 4955 subsection E. We would actually log that under unsafe, unsanitary conditions. But then there's also some standard of practice violations in the regulations, false misleading advertising, even sexual misconduct. That has its own section of conduct. I could kind of compile the laws and the regs that would fit under unprofessional conduct. I could do that.
Just for awareness' sake, for us to have our okay. Thank you.
And if I may speak to Kipman's comment, a lot of times the education of these kinds of activities, especially for items like unprofessional conduct, happens through enforcement actions themselves. So right now we've got one of our projects is to follow up with address changes. Our laws state that an acupuncturist must inform the board within 30 days of any address change, and we are now logging return mail and doing a count and sending out citations for people that are exceeding that limit. We're starting with the most egregious first because there's a number here of violations, but So you might see this number jump in the next quarter or the following
Yeah.
quarter. But that is us addressing these issues as well. But we can also look at other ways of reaching out to the licensees.
It's almost there's like very administrative, just like the logistical type of situation. Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
I think with respect to the NPDB discussion and with this unprofessional conduct discussion, it would be very helpful, Christine, to get a further narrative as you've done with the rest of these memos. But I think if we have only one data point, it provides some good background, but not that much context. So if it's possible to look at Q3, Q2, possibly Q1, or whatever, maybe Q3 from last year, and really try to paint a picture of what's going on here, I think that would be more helpful than a one-time look. So however you choose to do it, I think would be helpful. I trust that you have you're the person most knowledgeable in the analysis of this enforcement stuff. So however you choose to present it, as long as we have a relatively complete picture of what's going on. I think that the NPDB and this discussion, I think we should keep it at the board level because they're more one-time updates. If it's determined at the next meeting that they require further discussion and investigation, we'll refer it out to that committee at that time, but we'll keep it on the full board plate right now.
Will public comment allow for this?
We will take public comment after the third B3. So after Christine provides an update on the Form 801 malpractice settlement form, which she's going to do now, then we'll take public comment on all of this. Christine, if you could do number 3.
So this is just an informational item, and just the board will be posting a form on its website for insurers to report settlement judgments and arbitration awards to the board. This is with respect to Business and Professions Code Section 801. The Senate Committee on Business, Professions, and Economic Development issued a background paper for the board after the Sunset Review hearing held March 12, 2012, directing the board to develop a form to standardize 801 reports. BPC 801A requires every insurer providing professional liability insurance to a licensed acupuncturist to send a complete report to the board as to any settlement or arbitration award over $3,000 of a claim or action for damages for death or personal injury caused by that person's negligence, error, or omission in practice, or by his or her rendering of unauthorized professional services. Initially, there was some confusion among staff if a legislative change or regulatory rulemaking package were required to mandate insurers to report on a standardized form developed by the board. However, legal counsel has determined that simply providing a form for insurers' use in compliance with BPC 801A does not require legislation or a regulatory package. So there's a concern that possibly we're not getting all of the reports reported by insurers. And so streamlining the process for insurers to go to our website, having a form there, providing all of the necessary information that enforcement needs, the board needs. And so we've developed a standardized form. We can't mandate insurers to use it in that. We don't have that legal authority, but we can simply provide the form, which we're going to do on our website. And actually, I do remember years ago when we were added under 801, getting calls from insurance companies asking, did we have a form? And we didn't, because they were used to like medical board and things like that. Because we did borrow this form from the medical board. So it's a go up on our website.
Great. And I might add that this has gone through an evolution in how we've sought to provide this. Initially, the board voted to have a statute, and we sought that last year. And then through discussions with legal counsel, we actually whittled it down. We don't even need regular authority. We can put this forward. However, we do not have the authority, like Christine said, to require it. We suggest that people do use it. And it will be on our website after this meeting.
Are there any further comments from the board on the malpractice form? Go ahead and take public comment on item B, enforcement report as a whole.
my name is Daniel Lee, and I like Mr. Chen's comment proactive to help the profession to reduce the unprofessional conduct. And you don't need to read the whole book to make one correction. For example, and I use one case to tell during the continuing application to the association. I asked the member, the patient inform home, add a line. If you have any concern or complaint to the clinic, please contact this number or this email, contact who. And this explanation is triggered by a case. The practitioner did not charge the patient. The patient still waiting in the lobby and he's not happy with what he has seen. He left. Then he filed complaint direct to the acupuncture book, then triggered the whole investigation process. It's very time consuming. If the practitioner informed the first time patient, you have any concern, let me know first. So just add a line will help to avoid the developing problem. So I like proactive approach. Another example, a lot of practitioners put MD in China. Okay, they think they are MD in China. What's wrong with that? They put it in the business card, put it in their patient education book, MD in China. That also triggered the complaint. So, because the student, when they are in the school, they are focused on license exam. This kind of minor thing, they do not pay attention. If we just use the case, each time there's a complaint repeated during the license exam, maybe we can add a page. This is a common mistake and professional conduct. You should not do that. Give them the code number. We don't need ask them to read the whole book to make small corrections. So I like Mr. Chen's concern, proactive, help the profession and help to reduce the unprofessional conduct issue. This is point-to-point specific way. That's my comment. Thank you.
Yes, Jacques from Marco Empress College. Thank you, Christine, for the very thorough report. There was one concern that was brought up at the open meeting on February 24th, which was very concerning to all of us, was the non-licensed practitioner, especially PTs and DCs, doing the so-called dry needling, and that was brought up with Dr. Zeidman from Five Branches, the president of Five Branches, and he actually stated a case up north where at the VA, which is not on federal land, they were actually advertising and doing these acupuncture services. And that's very concerning that they are infringing on our scope of practice, and this is just the beginning of this tidal wave across the country. So, I hope that enforcement committee really looks and goes hard on these violators that are doing dry needling, acupuncture, and they're not trained. Some of them get as much training as a 12-hour weekend course, or maybe even a 30-hour, and it's very concerning. So I hope that the enforcement committee really looks at that and follows up on some of those leads that were given by Zeidman up north. And I'm sure, I'm aware there are PTs even here in the greater LA area that are doing acupuncture. And it's very, very concerning. Thank you.
Neil Miller, California Society for Acupuncture and Asian Medicine. I think it's great that there are less and less complaints, and I like to think that the profession over the past few years has done a better job informing our members. But when I read through the trends, it doesn't highlight what other types of cases that are being seen, and I think that would be really important information for the board to understand and to be able to put out there the types of complaints, so that, as Mr. Kipman said, we can get on the prevention side versus the enforcement side. It used to be, sexual misconduct used to be much higher. We've done a much better job at lowering that rate, which is terrific as a profession. But there are other areas that are egregious violations, and then there are things that are minimal violations. like an address or a CE, and there's a buzz within the profession, a concern that the board is going to be very aggressive about certain enforcement, cite, fine, suspension, and the practitioner isn't aware of a violation that they had. Maybe they didn't know it was 30 days. Not everybody reads the book all the way through. There are a lot of changes. Most acupuncturists aren't checking the acupuncture board website on a regular basis. About 75% of the acupuncturists in the state don't belong to an association. So there's not a connection between the rules and the regulatory changes that are taking place. None of you were around, but the board used to put out, Ben might have been here, that they used to put out a flyer, I think it was twice a year, that was an update of everything that was going on. If there were new rules, new regulations, if there was a huge increase in, or you've become more aware of addresses that were lax or something like that, where you can give out a warning. And there's also a concern, in my recommendation is that if someone's in violation, but it's a minor thing, is it necessary to cite and fine them or suspend their license? Or if you said you're out of compliance here, whether it would be MD in China or something like that, where you send a notice that says this is not legal based on this, you are hereby warned that of this, and any further violation will be enforced with cite, fine, and possible suspension, something like that. So it's a more friendly relationship between the board, and you're accomplishing what you want to do in protecting the consumer. There's also a buzz, whether it's true or not, but I thought I should bring it to the forefront, that because of the examiner, that there's a possible lack of revenue coming to the board, that cite and fine violations would be going up in order to increase the budget and make up a shortfall. Whether that's true or not, there's a lot of people talking about that. And so my suggestion about maybe being a little more compliant, friendly, so that there's another way that we can reach out to the practitioners other than expecting, however many there are of us, to go on the acupuncture website all of the time. I used to be signed up to the board, and I would get any kind of notice from the board. I got notices of meetings, I got notices of violations, and I could see who made a violation, what the violation was, and so as a leader of an association, we could go back to our board and discuss, look, these are the 8 cases that came in this month from the board, these are the things that they're going to have on the meeting. We need to get this message out to our membership. So I'm encouraging the board to look at this issue going forward and to try to work with the professional associations and those who aren't part of that association, and try to create a bridge of communication so that we can get on the forefront of having that trend go lower and lower and lower and improve the quality and safety for the consumer.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment?
It's Dr. Michael Fox from the California Acupuncture Association. Thank you, Mr. Chen, for your comments. This is something that's been on the minds of many of my members, of our members. We find that these unprofessional conduct cases are vague, and we're very eager to reduce that, but we just have a difficulty figuring out what it is you're looking at. So, for example, when you're looking at unsafe and unsanitary conditions, you might have a checklist, but we don't have a copy of that checklist. Can we educate our members as to what you're going to be looking for when you come in and say, yep, that's wrong? We don't know what that is. I am also on a credentialing board of a network group. It's called Acupuncture, and one of the things that regularly comes up is unprofessional conduct being a lack of adequate notes and charting. But there is no checklist for us to look at and say, well, how do you evaluate this? How do you look at that? I know that sometimes comes up in Q&A. So we would like some help in assisting our members to comply beforehand, so that we can get this handled before it becomes an enforcement issue. And right now, our only avenue is to go to enforcement after the fact. And so many times people say you need to know about this, you need to know the laws, and that is true. We're not arguing that. But sometimes, like MD in China, or this new advertising law, does that mean we have to put our license number on our business cards and our license plates and our window of the car? We don't know. That's not clear from the text. So we'd like to see clear guidelines to the profession issued, so that we can look at this and go, okay, I'm going to evaluate my treatment room. Does it meet the standards that you're going to look at when you come and audit or inspect? So that's what we're looking for, is a little help and complying beforehand before it becomes an enforcement issue.
Yeah, and you see again. So my suggestion to the legal staff, Christine, is why not you list 10 most commonly mistake or violation during each license renew. Put one page, and you will find next year the 10 will be changed. If 10 is too much, not enough to put in one page, you can put 5. I think by practice like this, you will find year after year those common mistakes will be reduced significantly, and it's more specific to help the solution. That's my comment.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was the appropriate time, but I'll bring it up. I'd asked that we specifically understand whether the different types of acupuncture meet the statute. In other words, I put on my card, I do Chinese acupuncture, I do Korean acupuncture, I do Japanese acupuncture, I do neurophysiological acupuncture. With the term dry needling, I contended at the meeting before and asked it to be on the agenda and that legal take a look at it. If I put dry needling on my business card, am I in violation of advertising, or do all of these various types of acupuncture meet the criteria of what is the statute? So this is public comment, but I would hope, and I've asked before, that it be put on to the committee, and the committee make a decision that, and I think it's Michael's committee that could look at that. I don't know, but to look at those different types of acupuncture and see that we're not in violation, because that's something that's coming up now, is that everybody's card says what they specialize in, what type of acupuncture they specialize in. So there's very common things and then there's new things, and so I just want to be on the forefront of that. So maybe we can direct that to a committee, to a future meeting, so that we can really be very specific on how to avoid problems in that arena.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, to board of director members and attendants. I'm very honored to be here to present my new books that have been written about 10 years ago. And I retired from the UCI medicine department, immunology, and the anatomy department. And I came here to present it and to show my book of.
Sir, is this an enforcement Is this an enforcement discussion, or is this talking about your book? Better.
I don't know what then my.
Yeah, we're having public comment on enforcement.
Like to yeah, if you would like to.
Oh, okay, okay. So can I postpone then this?
Yes.
Wait. Thank you very much.
We'll take public comment at a later time, maybe under future agenda items. We had finished public comment, I think, at the beginning of the agenda, but we'll be sure to make more room for you to discuss whatever you need to discuss, sir. Okay, if there are no further public comments on the enforcement report, let's move on to agenda item C, education report with Jay.
Thank you. So I just want to instruct board members to note that look at the report that's dated May 15th. Because of the delay of the board meeting, there was some changes to the statistics, and so the report was updated. And so just look at that report. And that's the one that's the current report's the one that's been provided for public. Okay, so there are currently 32 approved acupuncture programs that are approved by the California Acupuncture Board. This list can be viewed on the board's website at acupuncture.ca.gov, and if you go into the student tabs and you look under approved schools, you'll see the currently approved schools, and that's maintained as current. Compliance status of May 2017. So, as I've said before, the board has completed site visits and obtained current CCR section 1399-434 curriculum from all board-approved training programs. 17 programs have been found in full compliance. And the programs that haven't moved to full compliance, it's not a negative, it's just that we're working through so many reports that's delays. And so there's been some priorities for one reason or another. So if you're a school and you haven't been tapped yet or finished with it, you're on my list. So all board-approved training programs have submitted clinical corrective action plans in response to the board's compliance site visits. Three training programs have completed clinical corrective actions and have had their curriculum reviewed by staff. These programs are now in the process of submitting corrective actions relating to curriculum. 12 training programs have submitted clinical corrective actions and are pending review by subject matter experts, which is the final process of that process. 2 programs have lost board approval status since the last reporting. Stanton University lost training program approval. This program chose not to pursue accreditation with the Accreditation Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, ACOM. Similarly, California Trinity University has chosen not to pursue accreditation with ACOM, and as a result has lost approval with the board. And this is all in reference to the SB 1246 requirement of having board-approved curriculum, ACOM status of some sort, and BPP approval or the equivalent. One program has been placed on probation by the board. 9-Star University of Health Sciences program has lost their accreditation status with ACOM. ACOM requires that, as a result of this, ACOM requires that 9-Star University wait 1 year to reapply for accreditation. As a result, the board has placed 9-Star University of Health Sciences on probation for 1 year. And during this probation period, 9-Star University will be allowed to continue operation of their acupuncture training clinic at all levels of supervision. And 9-Star University of Health Sciences will continue to be able to qualify students to sit for the California Acupuncture Licensing Exam during that period of probation. If they haven't been able to receive ACOM status during that period, then the probation will be moving to revoked. But currently they're approved. And then in terms of the BPP ACOM update, Ben talked about our meetings with ACOM at the CCOM. Although we've been able to complete a number of processes with them, and we've actually done operations together, and we've really clarified how we're going to work together, and so that's really encouraging. ACOM acknowledged us at the CCM meeting as working together and being on their speed dial, and we would like to acknowledge them too with the same relationship. We have a very cordial working relationship with them. And the BPPE, they're a sister DCA operation. I mean, I have contact with them almost daily in different levels, either assisting them in their work with their school approval process, or we're in contact with them in terms of actions that we're taking in terms of school approvals. So that's where that stands. In continuing education, as Ben mentioned earlier, the continuing education position has been filled. Vaughn Martini entered the position with significant training and prior experience and has been able to adjust this workload immediately. And I'm totally pleased to have her on board. She's done a fantastic job and caught up with the workload, and that allows me a lot more bandwidth to address the school issues. The education unit's continuing education section is a busy desk and welcomes the increased staffing. The education unit has created a frequently asked questions for provider reference to support and facilitate the course submission process. This document is available to view on the board's website at acupuncture.ca.gov, EDU providers, and then continuing education. You click on that and you'll be able to view the list. There's a number of documents there in the CE part of the board's website. Just for a few statistics, between January 1st and April 10th, 2017, there was 1,220 application for continuing education courses processed by the board. And then the current number of active CEU providers is 542. And then for the tutorial program, following a detailed tutorial file audit and updating, there are currently 36 active tutorials in progress, and I have 4 applications in process for tutorial program approvals, and program administration of that program is current. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Jay. Any board member comments?
Looks like the education provider in year 2014 we had 800 some provider, and 17 we had 500. Why make this so big difference? Is it because the board had more regulation, or more? Those providers did not make money. They drop out the providing education course, and it looks like from 800 to 500, pretty amazing number. So and then looks like fewer provider to produce more education program. Looks like the program is really compared before very efficient. Otherwise, not 300, almost 300 providers drop out. So I think it's a good step.
Yeah. I think has there been some changes in what we accept as continuing educational units now?
No, there's no. The board regulations haven't changed in terms of how the provider approvals go, or course approvals go.
Right?
Yeah. To me, we can only guess at the trends of this, but what I see from my short tenure there, and Ben has much more experience with this, is that there are more larger providers offering many classes, and then a number of providers who have started have dropped off just because it's competitive and it's difficult to offer, and particularly offering bigger providers can offer webinars in those situations, which can reach a really large audience, and so there's kind of a problem of scale going on with the smaller providers, and I think a lot of the smaller providers are actually moving into bigger providers who are hosting them. So, that's my guess. Ben, do you have any feedback
That
on
does
that?
seem to be the trend. Initially, in addition, you do have providers not renewing for a period of several months or a year, and then being like, oh, I'm going to offer this class now. So they'll renew late to offer that one class. You also have a high number of courses being offered because those bigger providers usually will plan out their year and know what courses they're offering. So we'll get a stack of 50 applications, or there's a provider that's putting on a conference, so we've got 75 applications that we're reviewing. So usually what we'll see is, and I may have addressed this at previous meetings, is by the end of November, December, we get a large amount of applications because people are looking for the next calendar year. And we can approve 1 year out, and that's because we cannot guarantee that this person will stay renewed as a provider. Because the minute they've lost their approved provider status, like by not renewing, their courses are no longer approved. Whether it's distance education, live webinar, or something we have approved, they are, if they go delinquent, their course no longer is approved. So
it's a good sign.
And does that go by organization, that umbrella of those practitioners, or the practitioners individually?
It's by the organization. Practitioners or instructors, as they're called on the application, they can move to whichever provider wants to host them. We do a review of their credentials as requested in the application, but it's through the organization itself. And normally what we see is the organization filling out the instructor's information.
So the 800 to 500, it's not like those 300 providers got underneath an umbrella organization.
Not necessarily. We don't have the exact details to be able to make that a factual statement, but we do see that happening.
And I'm actually confident in those metrics right now.
You're what, Jay? You're what?
Confident in those metrics that I gave those numbers.
Yeah.
So Jay and I have also been really taking a look at our database that we use for CE providers, and we were able to tease more, just as Christine's knowledge of ad hoc and clearing for enforcement, we're now applying that kind of scrutiny to education, specifically continuing education. So we're looking to get better statistics, more current numbers for everything.
Any other board comment? Okay, let's move to public comment on this item for the education report in J.
Is this going to be just for the report, or is this under education in general?
Just for what was agendized on the report itself.
Just the information. Okay, let's move on to, I just repeated your answer, so thank you very much for feeding that to me. D is the regulatory update from Mark.
Thank you, Hildy. Okay, members, we have our usual regulatory report. I'll give you an update on our items. The first is the uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees, also known as implementing SB 1441. This is the package that has gone through numerous iterations, almost as many as SB 1246. We decided we were kind of running out of time to have the package submitted to OAL by early April, so we decided to withdraw the package, and we will be bringing it to the board again to implement the uniform standards alone. Mainly just we ran out of time, and we also felt that our previous legal counsel said that it really would probably be a better idea to submit a fresh package that didn't have as many twists and changes that we have experienced with the previous package, that it would be more helpful for implementation, so we opted to go that route. You'll notice that there is a letter that has been posted, it should be, I'm not, sadly the letter is not in the packet, so I apologize. However, the notice of decision not to proceed was sent to the Office of Administrative Law. It has also been up on our website, so that has been sort of notified and everything like that. Number 2, SB 1246, standards for approval, etc. Pleased to announce that the package has been approved by OAL. It actually was approved yesterday, and it is in law, it is in regulation. We had asked for the earliest possible regulatory date. OAL agreed, and the provisions of it are actually in effect right now. So what that means is that we will be able to utilize our process that we've been talking about for the schools, as well as the forms, so that is very good news. And I want to thank the board for meeting on this item so many times last year, and the public for all their feedback and their comments. So it's wonderful to finally get that done. It's important to note the section 1399.433, which was the curriculum requirements for international students or clinical experience outside the United States. That was not put into effect, so that regulation is not in effect applying to international students. The reason for that is that OAL felt because our statute had changed, the governing statute, which is Business and Professions Code 4939, that changed effective January 1st. So as a result, our proposed rulemaking for section 1399.433 was based on a statute that changed. So as a result, we didn't have the authority to implement 433. So as a result, that will not be going into effect. So everything else in the 1246 rulemaking package was approved. Okay. Number 3 on the next page is sponsored free healthcare events, also known as AB 2699. That is obviously being resubmitted to the Office of Administrative Law. We expect an answer no later than June 17th. However, I did talk to the attorney that's handling it. She will have some sort of response for us by early next week. It looks good, is what she said, so I think that package will probably be approved. If that is approved, that will go into effect, I believe, August 1st, which is the next quarterly implementation date. That was a strategic plan item, so that'll be something else that we can check off of our list. Number 4, advertising guidelines, display of license number and advertising. We are still, staff is still reviewing this text. We'll be bringing it back to the board possibly at the next September meeting. Number 5, prostitution enforcement and condition of office. Again, the board approved the proposed text in December. We are working on this package at the staff level for future submission. Number 6, continuing education ethics requirements. The Education Committee in December had voted to approve the text and make several changes. We are revising the text at staff level. We will bring that back to the board hand hygiene requirements. That package has also been under staff development, still is. And number 8, the 2017 updated disciplinary guidelines that was approved by the board at the February meeting of this year. Also under staff development, we are having our Attorney General liaison review the language and the guidelines itself to suggest any changes. Where we had asked them to get that back to us by the end of the month, so we will have that and make those changes. And if they are substantial, we will bring it back to the board. If not, we will move forward with that rulemaking package and get that into effect. So that's the reg update. Any questions?
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you.
SB 1246, I know that was a lot of work, so thank you for your work on that.
Thank you.
Great, good work.
I do want to point out with 1399.433, the board will be able to deal with that language or reincorporate into regulations, especially with the AB 2190 regulations that we're looking to draft that came with the SB 1246.
And we are meeting, staff is meeting regularly to work on the AB 2190 implementation and, changes, writing language and everything like that. We're hopeful to have that for the board at the next board meeting so we can get that implemented as well.
We're also discussing with other boards that receive a high volume of international applicants, their vetting process so that we can make sure to incorporate that language into our vetting.
Wonderful job. I'm sure you're just as relieved to stop hearing about 1246 as we are. Now it's 2190.
Now it's 2190.
Good job for all of us.
Thank you very much, Mark.
And then one also update on the item 8 in the March report, the disciplinary guidelines. The reason we pursued sending it back to the AG or liaison is the Office of Administrative Law judges and our Deputy Attorney General use this language, and their input on this process will really clear any discrepancies with it. So I felt it warranted one more pass to that.
And actually, that brings up one more thing I'd like to just add about the first item, the uniform standards. We have a number of other boards that had attempted to implement the uniform standards had done it in a manner similar to what we have done, which was implementing certain conditions as applied by the Substance Abuse Coordination Committee and then omitting others. And they were being disapproved by OAL for not including all of those specific conditions. Our package did not include a couple of conditions. So it was also sort of a decision to withdraw it so we can make sure that OAL will approve our package down the road with all of the conditions. So that's another reason that we chose to withdraw, because it didn't have those conditions in there. There was a very good chance it wouldn't have gotten that far. So this way we can be certain we can implement it and implement it correctly according to what the statute details.
And it is agenda item number 8.
Correct?
Yes, so when it says to be reviewed by the board, we were very serious about that.
Yeah, we'll jump to that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much again, Mark. Are there any other comments and questions from the board? We'll take a public comment for this regulatory update at this time.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know much about your job, but I assume your most important job is protect the consumer. And for being able to do that is raise the education standard, right? So that's like a two aspect, but it's the one thing. Only when the acupuncturist education level increase to a certain standard, then we can guarantee the good service to the consumer, right? So right now, our California education for acupuncture is the highest in the nation.
Is this a general comment or is this specific to regulatory?
Yes. So I just want to get clarify about education for the people. Some people get education, PhD.
There's some continuing education.
Oh, get some PhD education from China. associate's degree, 3,000-hour PhD degree. So it's not like only acknowledge our education. It's also for the standard, because we did a lot of research. If we can raise this education standard a little higher, so we can do research to evidence research for the acupuncture, how acupuncture works. So we look at other professions, in the medical field, medical doctor, they have a lot of education and research. And then we also have some doctors did, like the Jianfu Jiang, I don't know if you know, she did a lot of research on UC Irvine about high blood pressure, and some other professor did. So myself, I did research on digestion disease. We use computers, we use chronoscopy to check the gut-brain, so head-brain, gut-brain. So we have very high standard education and experience, and I hope in the future for consideration to have some to expand the education level.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Neil Miller, I just have a comment. I've been in practice for a long time, and there's a new hand washing requirement or hand hygiene requirement. And I want to know if anything's changed. I mean, are there new solutions that we need to use on our hands, or is it a new procedure? Is this something that's changed over time that all the people who are in practice are going to be happy? This is going to be paramount that we're aware of this. If there's something that's new, we assume that something as basic as clean needle technique and hand washing is addressed at the education level. But if there's something new for someone like myself or anybody else who's been in practice, it's very important that such information be put out there. Are we going to be required to use gloves or certain solutions that are antimicrobial versus something else? And I think that it's really important that as you go down this road that we be well informed of this way ahead of time. And any feedback that you'd like, I'm sure that all the other associations in the schools would like to contribute.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Thank you very much. Let's move on to E, legislative update. Mark again.
Okay. These are bills that we have been of interest that we are looking at. We have not had a regular, we normally have a monthly department-wide legislative roundtable. We actually have not had one in the last couple of months because I think primarily the Ledgerage unit is focused on the budget. The governor just released a revised budget earlier this month, and that is actually where a lot of legislative attention is. However, these are bills that we may be interested in, so I'll just review them real quickly. AB 12, Cooley. This is just it happens every year. We brought this to the board's attention at the last meeting. It's just a review of administrative regulations. That one is currently on the suspense file as it does have a cost. Any bill that has a cost, I believe, over $100,000 automatically gets referred to the suspense file. And they work out the cost and determine if it's feasible to proceed with the bill or not. AB 1005, Calderon. This is a bill that just kind of caught our attention, but I thought I'd bring it to the board's attention just because we were having a discussion about citations and such. The bill requires, the board's medical board, chiropractic board, osteopathic, etc., to create a system of issuance to a licensee of a citation which may contain an order of abatement or an order to pay a fine assessed by the board if the licensee is in violation of the law. The bill, except for regard to healing arts licensees, i.e. us, would require a citation containing an order to pay a fine containing an order of abatement fixing a period of no less than 30 days of abatement of the violation before the fine becomes effective. So it's effectively like a fix-it ticket. But however, a number of healing arts boards raised objection to the bill, so as a result, you see the exception that's underlined there, and that was just added in a couple of weeks ago. Assembly Bill 1190 regarding the DCA BREEZE system. This is just of note to us because we are scheduled to be part of Release 3 for BREEZE. We still do not know when we're going to be onto BREEZE or what their ETA is to be implemented. This bill just requires a quarterly update on its website of kind of what's happening with the BREEZE system. BREEZE will impact us in a pretty major way, so we want to kind of keep a track as to what's going on, so this bill sort of facilitates that. AB 1340, continuing in medical education, mental and physical health care education. This is just of interest for us because it would require the medical board to consider including a course in acupuncture to be taken by licensees whose practices may require may require knowledge in an area of acupuncture and whose education has not included instruction. The key word is consider. It does not require the medical board to do it, but it sort of shall consider including a course in acupuncture. And this is just relevant because we have a number of MDs like Dr. Matecki who practice acupuncture, and it would just require them to be a little more up to speed via a course. Senate Bill 27 Morel, we talked about this at the last one. This would require every board within DCA, including our board, to grant a fee waiver for the issuance of an initial license to an applicant who supplies evidence that they are in the Armed Forces or National Guard. Only allows them to provide one fee waiver. Right now we have a very low number of licensees who are active duty military. I believe it's 3 right now. So this is just it would impact us in a very minor way, but it's a good bill to just sort of support our troops and give them an extra little nudge into the acupuncture profession. They don't have to pay that extra license fee. Saves them a couple $100. Senate Bill 572 Stone. This one is also kind of similar to the 10,005, which I mentioned earlier about it would prohibit boards from taking disciplinary action against or penalizing healing arts licensees who violate the provisions but correct it within 15 days if they're not on probation. This bill right now, this bill's not going to go anywhere. It was referred to Senate B&P committee back in March, and the hearing has been postponed by the committee in April. It has not been taken up, so it looks like the bill is going to be effectively dead. Again, a number of healing arts boards at the roundtable had voiced objections to this bill, that it was vague, that it would sort of give too much of an out for licensees, etc. So anyway, this one will not be going forward, it looks like. I mean, anything can happen with the legislature. It could get resurrected out of nowhere and become an issue again, but for now it looks like it's a dead bill. Number 7, Senate Bill 762, License Activation Fee Waiver. This bill would require the renewal fee of any healing arts licensee, including acupuncturists, who certifies to their board that license restoration is for the sole purpose of providing voluntary, unpaid service to a public agency, not-for-profit institution, or corporation that provides medical services to indigent patients in medically underserved or critical need population areas of the state. This bill is on the suspense file. I don't know if it's going to get out. It would probably not impact us in a very major way, but there, of course, are probably some licensees who would want to provide those types of services, so it gives them a little extra incentive to do that if they wish. But the bill is also a little bit vague in the sense that a lot of things aren't very well defined, which was a concern that some other boards had. So we'll see what happens with this one as well. Any questions?
Any comments from the board? We'll take public comment on this specific legislative update agenda item at this time.
I have a question, and I know you can't answer it during public comment, but you said that there was a course that was suggested or offered for medical doctors who are practicing acupuncture, and I wanted to know if the board had thought about giving any kind of guidelines or discussion or especially since we have a medical doctor on our board, to give some feedback to that process. Is this the 350-hour UCLA HOMS course that they're recommending, or is this we recommend you take a 15-hour course. And somewhere there's a big disparity between there, and I hear complaints about medical doctors who are doing acupuncture, some of them who don't have any acupuncture training from patients. Oh, my medical doctor said that he's going to try some acupuncture. Since it's working, he went and bought some needles. A real case. So I think somewhere between that and that this board, it would be within your purview to make some sort of effort to understand what it is that the suggestion to the medical doctors are, or to the profession is, and maybe give some feedback or some guideline from us being an expert in acupuncture. Not to take away from their experience as medical doctors, but they don't have the training in acupuncture and techniques and theory and so on and so forth. So somewhere between being able to just stick a needle in, which is within their scope of practice, to actually safely practice acupuncture and protect the consumer. And since we're all under DCA, it would seem appropriate that this board make some sort of effort to communicate and to bridge that gap there so that we cooperate a little bit more on the issue.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Can I make a clarification? Just to point out that Dr. Amy Matecki not only is a licensed medical doctor, she's a licensed acupuncturist, so she's taken all the training that the acupuncture board requires.
Ken, Amherst College. Might comment on another bill that's being proposed that would affect our industry. So 8387, which is the intern minimum wage bill proposed by Berlin. And this bill would expand the definition of an employer to include any person supervising another person for licensure in allied health. And what this would mean is that the schools with interim teaching clinics would have to pay minimum wage to our student interns. So there's a number of opposition to this bill, including the Physical Therapy Association. It would affect everybody, all the institutions in allied health, nursing, massage, acupuncture. And so I asked that the board research this bill, follow this bill, and to take a position on it because it would obviously have a big impact on our ability to offer programs.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this issue?
My name is Vanessa Font, licensed acupuncturist.
Please speak up for the camera.
Okay, I'm Vanessa Font, I'm a licensed acupuncturist in the state of California, and I'm here representing the American Society of Chinese Medicine, and I have a question regarding the NCCAOM bridging together with the California Acupuncture Board, and if there's going to be a bill regarding, written by the Assembly and Professions Committee, naming the NCCAOM as the agency in charge of writing and administering the supplemental exam protocol.
Thank you. Any other
I have a comment on the minimum wages. So this bill is related to the labor law, the minimum wages required for the internal. You mentioned those are occupation.
I can send staff information on this bill. I'm not sure how it's related to the minimum labor law, but it is, it's being sort of proposed as a minimum wage.
Because the board cannot take a position on the labor law. We are not the labor law expert. So we had to follow the California labor law. Whatever they set up the minimum wages. So every employer in California have to comply. That's not our board duty to enforce these minimum wages.
We'll make sure to get the full language for the board to review.
And you could put it on a subsequent agenda if you want to consider it.
We can technically take positions on any bills that we wish, Kipman, if they're agendized, like Nina said. So we'll review this bill and track it if necessary, bring it to the board's attention.
Are there any legislative deadlines or timelines that we have to be concerned about, Jamie?
I don't know if we do. Budget is due June 15th, so that's the big one everyone's looking at right now. So in terms of I believe the suspense calendar, I don't know if they've looked at it yet, right? Mark? So it's coming up though pretty soon.
Yeah,
So,
it usually happens around budget time.
and the legislative calendar is not till the end of August or August 31st, so we still have some time for it to take positions on any bills. If there's a meeting in July or August, that would be the time to do it.
Let's make sure we have that as a priority on our next agenda if we want to take positions on things in time for that. Thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item number 7, committee reports.
For this item, just to remind the committee chairs, we're simply going through and noting what was done at the committee level. So we can start with the Education Committee.
Sure like to report out that the Education Committee reviewed and approved notes, meeting minutes from meetings for January 17, 2014, April 18, 2014, and December 14, 2016. So they were all reviewed and approved. And that was it.
Exam Committee.
Exam committee, okay, so exactly the same thing. We went over, updated the exam committee meeting assignments, and we approved the January 17, 2014 meeting minutes, and also approved the April 18, 2014 meeting minutes. And we took some future committee agenda items, and we adjourned.
Research Committee.
Yes, we approved September 21st, 2016 minutes, December 14th, 2016 meeting minutes. And we looked at any future agenda items, which we didn't have any to date. Then we adjourned.
Enforcement Committee.
I am very glad that somebody's having trouble with the meeting minutes thing as much as I am. The Enforcement Committee met and approved the January 17, 2014 meeting minutes, the May 29, 2015 meeting minutes, and the December 14, 2016 meeting minutes with no future committee agenda items brought up.
And Executive Committee.
Well, I think for the new year, we should, look at the provider's fee. It looks like every 2 years, they only charge $150 for the provider. The fee to the board. I think we should have to update that because this is for a long time. So the executive committee got to have to look at the budget again and see what happens.
Can you provide a recap, Pittman, of what just happened, though, at the last executive committee meetings?
What we just did in the
What we just did in the executive committee.
This morning. Yeah, this morning.
Review that agenda.
Oh. So
We'll make note of your suggestion regarding the provider's fee.
So the executive committee meeting is for the, I believe for the year 2000, let me get that one first. For the May 26th, future, you're talking about the future.
The agenda you went over this morning?
Yeah, oh, Monday night?
Yeah, just summarizing what we did
Just
this morning.
summarize that.
Oh. But you did already.
Yeah, you're procedural. It's procedural. You're just reporting what you did this morning, Kitten.
To the entire
Yeah.
board.
Well,
We like to repeat things.
we had the public comment, and also Ben had the executive committee assignment, and we also approved the May 29, year 2015, the minutes. And looks like we don't have any future committee item yet, so that's it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Any discussion from the board on this agenda item? Any discussion from the public on this agenda item? Sounds good. We're going to move on to number 8, but before we do that, I know that we've been going for about 2 hours now, and you probably need about 5 minutes to stretch. So let's take a 5-minute break and then come back. We'll continue with agenda item number 8 when we return. So it's now 11:58. We'll come back around 12:05. Let's go ahead and get started. We have 4 more agenda items, and hopefully we can all get on the road in time for the Memorial Day holiday. Let's go ahead and start. We are on agenda item number 8, consideration and possible action on a new proposed amendment to Title 16 CCR Section 1399.4. Mark?
Okay, this is the new Uniform Standards of Substance Abuse Licensees regulatory package that I spoke of earlier. You'll notice that there's no materials, but because it was agendized, we did have to leave it on the agenda. After our original May meeting date was postponed towards the end of the month, our Attorney General's office again had asked to look at our uniform standards language and handbook, which we had developed. And because that request came in after this meeting, after the initial, because of timing, we're not able to bring it to the board. We will bring it back to the board at the next board meeting with any of their suggested changes. And hopefully if it gets approved, we can move forward on it. So we will be bringing this back, just for timing reasons we have it. So I'd ask maybe if we could table it for the next board meeting agenda.
Is there any time sensitivity? Do we need to call for a meeting in advance of our next regularly scheduled meeting?
Not for this item,
No. It is an issue of, it is a sunset review issue that was raised last time, which is sort of how we got into it. And we have been working on it continuously. I think the legislature is aware that we have been working on it continuously. But again, it would be something if we can get it sort of approved by the board before our sunset review is complete in December, that would be very helpful. And it's just for protecting the public and such. It's a very good thing.
Any discussion by board members? Any public comment on agenda item number 8?
And if I may reiterate, the AG's liaison offered to review this for us, so we really wanted to take advantage of this as a tool for them to utilize later on. So we're really grateful that they're looking at this, and grateful that you're giving us the time to update it.
All right, hearing no public comment, let's move on to agenda item number 9, approval of February 24, 2017 board meeting minutes.
Board members, this is the draft meeting minutes for the February 24th, 2017 meeting. Happy to take any changes or comments.
Is on page 5, 1, 2, 3, third paragraph, second line, near the end, and encourage them to consider.
Bless you.
So,
Any other comments regarding the meeting minutes? Okay. I'd like to move to approve the February 24, 2017 board meeting minutes. Second. With the revision. Thank you. Any board discussion? Any public comment? Bless you.
Well, the minutes are already approved, but I did make a number of comments regarding dry needling and asked specific questions related to unprofessional conduct and advertising, and had asked that be agendized so that I mentioned earlier today, but I had mentioned that day. There's no note or mention that I did specifically ask the legal counsel to address the issue of unprofessional conduct and advertising in relationship to dry needling. It's not listed here. It's already been approved, but
It has not yet been approved. We're actually doing that process right now. So, do you feel like there's a comment that's missing? And if so, what was the nature of the comment? And
my comment was that I had requested that that there was concern about other boards that have been sued for dry needling and other comments, and it was just an error of apprehension in the air, and I thought that our situation is much different. You didn't have to worry about it. I believe that 3209.3, the definition of acupuncture, specifically gives you what it is, and that the things that I listed, whether it was Korean acupuncture, neurophysiological acupuncture, dry needling, all fell underneath the parameters of what the definition of acupuncture is by statute, and that I had requested that the legal counsel look at that, and that could put that entire issue to rest, that yes, that's just another form of acupuncture that is recognized by the board as a form of acupuncture that meets the statute, so that if you're using that as advertisement, then you wouldn't be guilty of unprofessional conduct. So I think that it's important that it be listed, that I mentioned that specifically asked legal counsel to look at that issue and to put it on a future agenda item, this agenda, so that we can address that and not go any further and maybe put that to rest. So having seen nothing on here about that, I think is a critically important point to the entire discussion.
Sure. Mark, if you could not provide a response to the public comment, but kind of talk about, in general, how you came up with these minutes, and if they're what you think is a true and accurate reflection of what's on our screen
Sure.
and video.
The decision of first addressing Neil's comment about it's at legal counsel's discretion or more specifically the EOs and the board presidents, what becomes a future agenda item, what we review and everything like that. So that in mind, what we've done and what we've done as long as I've been with the board, which is 6 years, is that when we reflect public comments, we attempt to just sort of capture the basic flavor of what the person is saying, what they're asking about. We have never, as long as I've been doing the minutes, which is about quite a long time, have never sort of listed specific comments made, because a lot of comments are made by our stakeholders and by board members. We try to just capture the gestalt of what they're really saying, as opposed to specific things like that. It is, as I understand it, it's at the discretion of the EO and the board president and council if they want to, and if they ask that we update the record to say, yes, I will review it, or no, I will not review it, or have no response at all. And I believe Kelsey did not have a response to Neil's. I know she would look into it, but we have heard nothing further from her about that. So in terms of what is part of the record, we just try to reflect what's the basic comment that is made and what they're asking. If the board wishes, we can have more detail about public comments, certainly if wanted, but that's up to you, obviously.
And if I may, the webcast is available online for the exact wording of these things. So, but it's up to the board if they wish to have more detail.
And I would just echo that the minutes do not have to be transcriptions. They are summaries. The webcast is available if you believe that public comment, I believe, on that issue was captured on page 5 to 6. Then again, the specific comments are on the web. So
I believe that legal counsel said that was a very good point, and that she would look into it. Was her comment? She said that's a very good point in relationship to, because we weren't talking about unprofessional conduct, and I brought it up specifically for her as legal counsel to address whether or not it would constitute as unprofessional conduct, and she said that's a good point. I need to look into that.
Is that considered legal interpretation of the statute that we can't really do that?
I mean, right now we're just talking about the minutes and approval of the minutes and whether the public's comment is referenced, is captured, the nature of the comment, the summary. So comments to legal counsel, and legal counsel does not give advice to the public, it gives advice to the board. So it's up to you whether you want to approve this or you want to table it and go back and look at the webcast and add more there. I'll leave that to your discretion.
Sure. To the extent that such a request was made, and to the extent that council at the time acknowledged your request, I think we should verify exactly what was asked and responded. So I don't think that has. I'd like your guys' input, because I was not at this meeting. But if such a request was indeed acknowledged, we can certainly verify to see what further follow-up is needed. As Mark mentioned correctly, it is within our discretion to put it on the next agenda. And if there is an issue that warrants further discussion, I know this specific issue has been on our agenda 4 times now, that further research and further discussion was necessary, then we will put it on the agenda as appropriate. But we should definitely follow up to make sure that it was reflected correctly in the agenda, and if a request was made, that it was appropriately responded to. So let's make a note to make sure that that's the case.
So your motion is still in?
It does say there that the last sentence, it does say that the VP did close the discussion by asking legal counsel to perform more research on the issue and come back to the board with a date. I think that kind of spells out that there was an interest in it, and that it was brought to the.
I don't want to hold up the approval of the minutes.
No.
I just wanted to acknowledge that it was said, and if we're going to, it's been agendized 4 times, but no one brought up the specific issue that I did, and I thought that alone would be something that would resolve the entire issue, so you don't have to keep revisiting it. That it is clear. It would be clear within the statute, and that there wouldn't be a future concern about unprofessional conduct in relationships to false advertising.
Absolutely.
So I thought it wrapped up a whole lot of things.
So let's do that then. Let's make sure that the consultation required, I wouldn't call it consultation, that the inquiry is addressed and that we follow up on this issue.
And quickly, Kelsey, our legal counsel, she is on maternity leave right now, so she's not available, and we don't know when she'll be coming back, so that sort of complicates it a little bit too.
Can we pass that on to another legal counsel, just in case when she doesn't come back? Does that topic get pushed aside now, or can we?
No, we can definitely look back at the webcast to get the transcription. We do have a transcription of it and get the exact wording that also responded to.
And to the extent that it's necessary, someone at DCA Legal, whether it's me or someone else, would be able to follow up with the work. It's not necessary that we wait until Kelsey gets back. So it's important that we follow up on the request and make sure that it's addressed. But the point of this particular agenda item is to make sure that this is a correct reflection of what happened at that meeting. So
Microphone, so I wouldn't hold up to approving the minutes. I mean, I don't think that's an issue. I just wanted to make note that
appreciate that.
it is noted in minutes, and that I don't want to let the issue go and say, well, we handled it 4 times because we didn't address it in a specific issue, in a specific manner, with which I thought might resolve the issue.
Well, I appreciate it very much. As you see, we're following up on the issue. Let's go over the minutes to make sure it's an accurate reflection, and I invite the board members to make a comment since I was not there as to whether you think it is an accurate reflection of what happened at that meeting.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, all right.
I agree.
So any public comment aside from that which already been asked? Seeing none, let's go ahead and take a vote.
Okay, the motion was by Hildy, I believe, to approve the February 24th, 2017 board meeting minutes. The second was by Jean. With the change Jean pointed out from then to then. So we'll take the vote. Alganato?
Abstain.
Zamora?
Yes.
Chan?
Yes.
Corradino?
Yes.
Shea?
Yes.
Kane? Mateki?
Yes.
601. Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Mark. And as I may have already mentioned, I was not at the board meeting, and I thank you guys for carrying on without me. I'm sure Jamie did a wonderful job as the captain of this ship on that day, so thank you very much for holding stead in my absence. Let's move on to agenda item number 10, the rescheduling of the 2017 board meeting dates. I'm going to pass it off to Ben.
Thank you, Hildy. Board member brought it to my attention that the Friday meetings does not work for them. So we were asked to put the calendar, or the recalendaring of the board meetings back on the agenda. And currently, we have September 8th and November 3rd as a scheduled board meetings. In addition, we have 5 petitioners right now that are seeking the board's review, and these do have to be heard within a period of a year after their initial request. We have vetted 3 of them so far, and we're finishing 4, and with the 5th one under review. So we will need to see them soon, and what I'm suggesting is that we have a separate day just for the enforcement hearings. It won't require all of staff to be present. We can have it just in Sacramento, use those facilities, or if the board members wish to go for a different location, we can discuss that further. But we do need at least one date for that. Also, we are looking at having the stakeholder meetings at the end of July. Right now, the planning is focusing on the last 2 full weeks of July.
What was that for again?
The stakeholder meeting on the education curriculum.
Yep. Okay.
Again, one in Northern California, one planned for Southern California. So those I'll communicate to the board once it happens. It's not a board meeting, it's a stakeholder meeting, which will be publicly announced. It doesn't require necessarily the board's vote to get it approved. And also a reminder that the board has a meeting with Solid to negotiate the 2018 to 2022 strategic plan on the 28th of September in Sacramento. This has been confirmed. So we're looking for 3 specific dates here, a rework of the September and November dates. I don't know if we want to move the September date up into the week before so that the board can take a position on any legislative matters before the due date. That would be one consideration. And then an additional date, it takes about 60 to 90 days for us to prep the OAL judge, the Office of Administrative Law judge, for the review of the petitioners and probationers. So I'm recommending an end of August or September specific just enforcement meeting.
Enforcement?
I'll be out of the country.
Correct, you'll be out of the country?
The last 2 weeks of August, first week of September.
From 21st to the 8th?
I think it may be to the 5th. I think it's the 15th to the 5th. I could get back with the exact dates on that. I'll be there. So if I don't need to be there, then obviously free reign, right?
Well, if it's the end of the legislative calendar on August 31st, we would need to meet well before that.
Right, you want to probably meet the first 2 weeks of August to make sure that your letter's in and it has some meaning to it as opposed to just being copied.
And I know that August is usually the month off for vacations from the year, so if you guys are okay with meeting the first 2 weeks of August, I'm okay with meeting the first 2 weeks of August, so.
It's fine.
Okay.
That does step it up in terms, if we're not going to have a September meeting, I can't guarantee that the report will be done for the full board review, the sunset report, but we can definitely have it reviewed at a later date. I advise that we have a little bit more of a buffer to allow for a second meeting should the first review not satisfy the board or require further changes, so the board can review the additional changes.
So should we maybe in July then?
Yeah, it sounds like
Last
July.
week of July?
What was happening in late July?
The stakeholder meetings in the last 2
When
weeks.
are those?
It has not been finalized yet. I'm in negotiations right now with the Solid team who will be facilitating those. But we're targeting the last 2 full weeks of July, so the 17th through the 28th. Board members are not required. We encourage your participation in that or your observation. We're seeking stakeholder input.
Sounds like August 2.
August 2nd.
August 2?
August 2nd.
Because Fridays don't work, so that's the next Wednesday.
And this is to replace the 9/8 meeting? Is that what we're going to do? To replace the 9/8 meeting to August 2nd?
That would be up to the board if they want to cancel that or have the additional meeting. Now, August, I would not be able to do the enforcement petitioner hearing. That's just too soon. We need at least, that puts us right at 60 days pretty much, which is really tight. Ultimately, we can request maybe that second full week in September for just enforcement. And again, you wouldn't have to deal with any policy issues. It's just reviewing those probationers' terms in their petition. So it's up to the board. Do they want to cancel September 8th or add an additional meeting on the 2nd of August? Or
What about September 13th?
I won't be here. I'll be out of country.
When are you
18th?
out? Dr.
13. 8.
So Wednesday.
Huh?
8 I can attend. So I was planning
On the
9.
Wednesday. I
Out
can
of country the next day.
Wednesday.
and that'll be for a couple
Okay.
weeks.
2 weeks. I'll be back on the 24th. I have a
Okay.
Unless, Jeannie, I don't know if that also was your schedule that was affected on Friday?
Does that work for you,
Does-
September 8th?
Are you still okay with the
Yeah.
September 8th? Friday right there? Okay.
September 8th is fine.
I'm confused. You know, you talk too many days.
We're gonna go one at a time. Hold on, one second. Hold on. We're gonna get there one at a time.
Okay.
So no, September 8th, Friday is fine.
Okay, so do any board members have a problem with the currently scheduled September 8th meeting date?
No.
That's Friday, right?
Correct.
Right.
I'm okay.
Okay, so we can keep that.
And Francisco,
Okay,
September 8th, okay?
yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Except this Wednesday, I said I have the radio show every Wednesday.
Correct, this will be stay, it'll stay on
Okay,
Friday.
September 8th.
So we're keeping September 8th.
Please.
Now, in terms of for the probationers that are petitioning the board
Petitioners, yeah.
and the,
Is there a deadline on that or a time frame on that?
we need 60 to 90 days and we have 1 year once they submit the application. The first couple applications came several months ago.
One is already hit the 1 year mark, and actually there's three reinstatements, and then there's one probationer for early termination. But we like to not wait too long on the probationers for early termination because that's essentially what they're
So do
wanting.
we need to do all 5 petitioners in one day?
5 is a lot to do.
The first one we haven't received yet. We
Oh, okay,
tried
just
to
for four.
query
So there's
up to
4?
send out the forms.
There's 4. And we could try fitting 4 in a day. I think we said 3 was kind of really our max.
It's a lot, and I think we determined that probably 3 of them require interpreters.
We've done that
So those go
before.
on longer.
And that's gonna take longer.
Yeah.
So that's a whole day.
And we're required to
So,
hold these.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would we be doing that on the 8th, or you're trying to figure out another date for them?
Another day, a
Okay,
separate
got it.
day, so we don't have to do a
Okay.
policy.
So before
and-
the 8th. Before the 8th.
Before, hopefully, it looks like right now what I've collected is that from the 15th of August through the 31st, there's some definitely no's. I don't know how many no's. Dr. Cordina, I believe you're out of the...
As long as we have a quorum, right?
True, that's the ultimate.
Especially if it's just going to be a petitioner thing. As long as we have a quorum, we can go ahead and meet the deadlines that you guys need to meet as far as petitioners are concerned. It's a full board meeting when we want all board members here. So
This is August, right? You
Yeah.
look at the 15th to 31st of August? Or?
no, that's
That's when Dr. Cordina will be out.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So do you want to have like the what do we say August? August
Hildy
4th?
suggested August 2nd,
Or August 4th?
but we can't do August 2nd because Francisco has...
Yeah, so August
commitments.
4th.
Dr. Cordino, on the 4th?
He's
Okay.
he's gonna be out of country. Yeah, so it's a petitioner thing. You wouldn't mind if you miss a whole days of petitioners.
But we're looking for 2 days, right? Because we have 4.
It should be 1 day, should be
Should be
fine.
one?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long day.
It'll be a
Yeah,
long day.
It should be doable.
Oh, right, we'll do it.
8 to 8, guys.
8 to
Let's
8.
do it. August 4th?
August 4th.
Medical board.
August 4th? 8 to 8?
Because they're all confident.
The registered nursing board, yeah, they do it, I think, like, all in 1 day, check out, like, get them over with kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So August 4th, we'll put that on our calendars for now.
What day?
August 4th.
August 4th. May I recommend that we hold it in Sacramento
Friday?
so that we can have the facilities
This
for
Friday.
Yes.
Friday, right? August 4th. So then the second's out, huh?
I'm sorry?
Is the second going to be still on too?
The
No.
second is out.
No, and Francisco cannot do any Wednesday.
August 4th, right?
August 4th.
August 4th will be the enforcement petition hearing.
We'll have to get some more details on that because if some of us are flying in and trying to leave that day, then we might need to stay for 2 days. So
Sure.
let's figure that one out. Okay. And the November 3rd meeting does anyone have issue with November 3? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
November 3?
November 3rd will
November
remain,
3rd, remain, okay.
which is I think it'll give us 1 month before having to
Before
submit
the
the sunset
sunset
report.
review, okay, got it.
And are they all in Sacramento?
They will retain their locations. I believe September was in San Diego, September 8th, and November was in the Bay Area. Toss up between Oakland or San
That was
Francisco.
Oklahoma.
Again, we are trying to do more stakeholder outreach. We're very grateful that Yosan's allowed us to host here our meeting, and we may look to inquire with some of the Bay Area schools for those locations.
So August 4th, you want to do it up north, and this is the kind of, we have to be present for these, we can't, yeah, okay.
The teleconference would be
Yeah,
too difficult,
yeah.
especially with translators.
No, of course. So that we have to organize, okay.
So as of right now, it's August 4 in Sacramento, September 8 at the location to be decided, and November 3rd at the location to be decided.
San Diego.
San Diego.
The location will be San Diego
San
for
Diego, and
September.
Oakland was like November.
Yeah.
We started with San Francisco.
November 3rd.
We did Oakland last year,
Yeah.
the year before.
September 8th, November 3rd. August 4th.
Is that
No second.
Is it, and then you'll notify us about the stakeholders.
correct? As soon as we find out about that, we'll then
All right, so, great.
Is that addressed? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will try to do all 4 that we have right now that are completed and reviewed on the 4th.
We're usually pretty efficient anyway, so let's, let's
Robin Mupat is like when I'm listening to a translator and I know that
8 to 8,
is long,
or you know,
that's 8 to 8.
Okay, any other board discussion on this agenda item? Public discussion on this agenda item?
I'm sorry that we were unable to have the earlier meeting here. We have a very poor turnout, and there's a couple of issues that I've been pushing for a couple of years now, and as a practitioner, maybe it wouldn't have the same voice as having consumers here. So I had lined up a couple acupuncturists and over a dozen consumers who had planned to come to the earlier meeting to address a couple of issues, including one of the former chairwoman of the board, who was a public member, to discuss a couple of issues that have been going on and on and on for years. And she could have brought a lot of light to the issue. So I'm hoping it can be difficult to, I don't know anybody up in the Bay Area, or to get people to go to San Diego, so I will put the word out on the particular issues to see if we can get some consumers. I think it would have given you a much better perspective on a couple of the issues that I've been bringing forward, to see actual consumers here who are in need of board intervention on a couple of issues. So I'm hoping that the next issues are the dates are set, but I did want to bring to your attention that I've made a concerted effort to try to put out word to consumers about issues that are important to us and to some other acupuncturists, to ask consumers, how do you feel about this or about that, to try to give you some feedback. So to my colleagues in schools and other practitioners and associations, I hope that you can do something similar so that we can start to give the board a much better reflection of what's going on out in the world and from the consumers, so that we can be a lot more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there future agenda items, or you're not?
Just on the board meeting dates. Any other public comments on the board meeting dates?
May I clarify, you're having the September 8th meeting in San Diego somewhere, is that correct?
Yes.
And the November meeting is?
Oakland.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other public comments or questions? Okay, let's move on to number 11, future agenda items.
Well, thank you for such a speedy meeting today. We're already at the lunch hour, so you guys did a lot of work, so I want to say that it was wonderful work today. The future agenda item is something that I brought up that needs clarification, and I hope that maybe it has to be in the educational committee, but the clarification needs to happen in the so-called 50 CE hours, the continuing education hour, every 2 years. 50% is online and 50% is live or seated, where there seems to be a disconnect in that there's a gray area, and I don't know if people don't really understand it, but some individuals happen to have these live webinars and they're counting them as live, but they are not really live, they're at home. So as an example, one of my colleagues did a live webinar. He only had 3 people on site, and there were about 250 people across the country taking those CEUs. So if we want to upgrade our profession, if we want to really help the licensees, the alums, is really to have at least a 50% live, so they can have a hands-on, they can have some techniques, they can have some needling, some trina, some myofascial release, whatever it is. And there has to be a clarification. If it's 50% online, and if it's live online, is that live? Are they there? No, they're at home. And some of them just, play the recorder, and then they might answer at the end of the 8 hours of question, and they get their certificate. So I think it's concerning that those 50% online, are they really online? Yes, the 50% are, but what about the other 50%? And to have very clear guideline from the board that the other 50% is you have to be present to a class and not just be online. That's physically present. If not, then some people can manage to squeeze their whole 50 hours with these live seminars, and they're not really live. Yes, they're live on their computer, but we don't know what they're doing in the meantime. They might be on the other computer, on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever they might be on.
What do you think they're doing if you're live from the person? Facebook, internet?
Well, yes and no, but live, depending on the instructors. Some instructors, have orthopedic exams and review on some acupuncture techniques, review on the cupping techniques, review on electrostim, on your work, on the different techniques from Korean hand acupuncture to nose ear acupuncture to master tuning to trina, all those that can improve one's skill set and public safety. Being at home, I don't think is the answer, and you cannot make practitioners just sitting at home and just watching webinars. That's an agenda item that I think has been requested in the past, and I think the education committee really needs to make a decision and make it very clear. And the practitioners are, some of them are confused. They think that counts as, it's a live seminar, so I'm pushing in the 25 hours that I've done on webinars, that's 20, but these are live, and so I'm writing them as live. And I don't know if it's easy for you to check. Maybe it's difficult, but if they are made aware of that difference, then they have to follow the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, did you want to come and talk about your book?
Well, it's finally my turn.
Thank you for waiting. Thank you so much.
Well, I feel great that your members are very, very strong hearts. I mean, the work here. And, acupuncture, they should know that board members they do a great job. Really, suffering here and waiting on you guys to talking. It's beautiful. Well, again, my name is Chang Sok-so. I'm South Korean, and I graduated from the Kyunghee University in Korea a long time ago. And after that, I went to the Egypt and Cairo medical school for the MD. I graduated there. After that, I went to Saudi Arabia, invitation from the royal family. Then I went there, South Saudi Arabia. 10 years I worked for the royal family there. At the same time, I have a clinic there. So the 10 years is a long time. I have seen a lot of patients there. I knew many, all of the Saudi, not only Saudi Arabia, but also Middle East. They know me because they talk about me. But anyhow, since I come back to the United States, I taught many Korean acupuncture schools. South Bay Law University and Royal University here and there, And at the same time, I was the permission to enter the UC Irvine. Like a short examination, and then I was appointed as a faculty of the anatomy department this year. And I stayed there about 7-8 years teaching, study, and I started to writing my book. The book is that I just mentioned to you. This is Acupuncture Anatomy. It's about 1,000 pages. I have done this the last 10 years. I have spent this in the UCI. A lot of the acupuncturists, they support me. I hire them and to come to UCI, and then they try to help me to proceed to finish this one. Well, anyhow, this book is the Acupuncture Anatomy. I say regional anatomy and the systemic acupuncture network. This integrated Western and Eastern medicine, providing a scientific foundation to acupuncture by correlating detailed anatomical information with specific acupuncture points. This book opened window into the understanding the physiological basis of acupuncture medicine. So these are both integration with the Western and Oriental medicine. This book is 100% to me. Everything is in the acupuncture point is detailed. Each acupuncture point, I analyze it, I elaborate it, the anatomy there. I have never seen, I'm sorry to tell you this one, I have never seen anywhere in the world, if you see this book, it's different, it's acupuncture. Anatomy is perfectly elaborated here. And I have dissected the cadaver for 16 cadaver in UCI. Now here also, finally I have here the dissecting, cross-section of these for the human body, which I have here. I don't want to show you, but this is my cadaver here. This is officially given by the UCI because I produced the book. This one of this. So I took this one, and then every point I point out acupuncture point according to indication. I'm sorry.
Isn't that?
So, but anyhow, I am one of the Korean acupuncturists who did a lot of research work. I have done a lot of 20 research work in UCI, Oriental medicine, and also the Western medicine with a lot of research in UCI. I have done that. I have been in UCI 18 years there. And now still, I have retired 1.5 years ago, they still call me. So I have my cadaver there still. So anytime I go there, I have a cadaver. And now special people, special acupuncturists like Japan, Korea, they come here and then we offer them, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week. And now the Japanese about 1 dozen, they came already here, so I'm going to give them the acupuncture, the anatomy course about 10 days. Anyhow, so I don't know, I have also, this is e-book also, that's e-book. And what I don't want to mention this one more detail, but the thing is, who can read this one, beginning of the textbook, who want to study about Oriental medicine, who want to study more and do the research work, who can study more and for the teaching purpose, everything can be applied to this book here. 100% there. In anatomy, acupuncture anatomy, detail 100% there. If you find any China, Korea, any place, I don't see there's 100% translated into English. But this is 100%, but 110%, the English translated here. So I'm very comfortable myself to introduce the book. Whoever want to read it, book, and that's why I came here to brief and to present the question. If you need anything you want to know, you like to know about this book, or you want to know about acupuncture anatomy, just let me know. I'm still in UCI. If they give me another UCI, they call me again. Because I'm living there near the UCI, I cannot escape with this. The anatomy, gross anatomy, this is a very tough, the work, The anatomy, nobody like anatomy, I like it, like you guys, you treat the people who are sick. I don't want to treat I cannot treat the people because they are all bad people. But the important thing is, I realized that I can make a survival one dead people. Before the death, almost comatose. I have practiced that, I have learned that. What is the place that I can puncture there and they will wake up? I have few times, I cannot guarantee, it's not scientific, but I have done this 18 years, I was in the anatomy department. I have 80 students, or 40 cadaver come to UCI every year, So anyhow, this is why I like to introduce my book to the board of member here. And this thing, if you like to read it, you can read it. If it's necessary, if Acupuncture board want to keep it one book for reference, I'm willing to donate my book for Acupuncture board also. So this is also very simple. This is also e-book. The publishing company is, I don't remember, but the publishing company is a very famous company. The CRC and Press. This is very important. It's one of the best publishing companies in all over the world. A lot of Chinese scholars published through this company. So they also always contact me. And I don't want to say this one, but I'm happy because this one is quite famous now. They sold 1,060 books last year. Last year was last year. So to be frank, I don't need the money. I have lots of money when I was in Saudi Arabia, the lawyer family physician, I got the money. So now I research doing, I'm teaching to people. So if anybody has any question, I can answer.
Thank you for sharing your work with us. It's clear that you're very accomplished, and we will definitely reach out to you if we need anything. Thank you very much, sir.
And I just want to respect the great research on acupuncture, but I want to make a statement correctly. The board adopted the essential of acupuncture in the 80s. That acupuncture book already has all the anatomy, from the surface to the muscle, to the blood vessel, to the nerve. Each point underneath involved at each level. For some reason, that book is no use now. But in the 80s, when we first started acupuncture education, we do have that book with anatomy precisely described for each point. That's my correct. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, by the way, before I forget, no, I'm sorry. This book, very, very detailed in anatomy. For example, you got the pathway, the meridian pathway. You got, for example, you got spleen 9, whatever. And I put this in Chinese pronunciation and Chinese character, then Korean pronunciation and Korean character. Okay, then it's location, everybody knows the location. Then location guide should know location guide is very important according to the anatomy. And then indication also according to the anatomy. And then you got the function, you got needling method, you got anatomy now, from here anatomy. Musculature. Musculature must be superficial, and then superficial you can find in the muscles and deep muscles, and there is an indication, and there's also origination, insertion, and action. And the nervous system also. Superficial nervous system, inside the nervous system, and it comes from where and to where spreading. And you can also vein and artery. Very, very detailed this book. You can study with this book anytime, any place. So this is why I don't want anybody. If anybody want to know, please call me back. I mean, still UCI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
If I can say something on that, I have that book, and it's a really great book, and it's really nice. If it was my opinion, I'd say the students should have that book under their arm for the first 2 years, understanding the anatomy of that. It's a great book.
It's not a quick read, but
I don't think we can finish it here. It's a reference book. That's what's a reference book.
Neil Miller, California Society for Acupuncture and Asian Medicine. Just to add to what Michael said, I think that a future agenda item would be to discuss the current literature and some of our approved books that might be outdated. Shortly just add to Dr. Su and acknowledge his work.
Yeah.
I have 2 items. I brought these up several times to be future agenda items. One of my patients, who's a former board member, who's a public member, was commenting on my guide to acupuncture, Consumer's Guide to Acupuncture in my office. And I said, she said she wanted to take a couple to show some of her friends and try to get a couple of patients to come in. And I said, I only have 25 left, I don't make them anymore. She said, what do you mean you don't make them anymore? I said, well, they haven't made them in a lot of years. And she worked on the first one, and I was on that committee. And there's been 3 copies of the Consumer's Guide to Acupuncture. It was written in Korean and Chinese and English. It was very useful. And I speak at lectures to medical doctors and other consumers, and it's probably the most useful thing, and I think it would be the most useful thing for the board. And they've taken it down from your website. It used to be on the website, that the Consumer's Guide to Acupuncture, and I think that's a travesty that it's missing. And so I once again bringing this to your attention that whether it goes to the research committee or however you divide that up, I don't know that some of you, certainly our public members, should see what that is. I have copies in Chinese, so I'd be glad to provide them if you still don't have them at the office. But I used to give out about 200 a year at lectures and things and to consumers and at the schools. So we give them out at the schools and the students would take them. So I really want to know, if you're not going to publish it again, can I take the last one? There's no copyright on there, and just reprint it myself? I mean, so I don't expect you to answer that question, but that's what I'm going to do. And have that reprinted if you're not going to address that. And I think it's vitally important that the Consumer Guide to Acupuncture be a core part of the board's outreach to the consumers and to the practitioners. The practitioners know what is in there, and it specifically addresses if you have a complaint, where to send it, what are the kinds of complaints, what are the kinds of experiences you can have with acupuncture. Each one of those books is intonations of that book were brilliant, and I'm looking forward to the next one being even better. So I hope that we'll address that. My other issue, and this is really in my heart, and I brought legislation forward on this issue, and it was vetoed by the governor, but it got through both houses, and that's the issue of Asian massage. I asked our practitioners, can you tell me what Asian massage is? They're laughing because they can't. And so our consumers, our public members, absolutely cannot. I challenge you, each of you, and I did this at a previous meeting, Google Asian massage. Just Google Asian massage, and you will be absolutely horrified that this is in our scope of practice. I used to say Oriental massage. No one knew what that was. But before Leland Yee went to jail, he thought that was pejorative, and he changed the law. So the law statute now says Asian massage. No one here, no one in the entire profession can tell me what that is. It's consistent. There is no medical procedure for Asian massage. This is a consumer issue. What is Asian massage? Medical doctors ask me that all the time. They see it, and the reason it comes up is because consumers, one, they don't know what it is. We don't know what it is, and it's very confusing. And it's not about an acupuncture being reimbursed for our services, because I don't take insurance. But my patients are not being reimbursed for the service, and I get the letter. And I have half a dozen letters from the acupuncture board that I provided to you before that show that the acupuncture board has actually written letters to insurance companies saying what we call, and I have back to the times when it was Oriental massage. Oriental massage or Asian massage is part of the scope of practice of a licensed acupuncture in California. It is called, referred to as Oriental or Asian massage, but it's within our scope of practice. So I have letters from the board that were approved by legal and everything else that says, yes, you can send out this letter. But I'm continually getting letters. I just got one 2 weeks ago that said, we don't pay for this service when done by this type of provider. We're billing for manual therapy, but it's not about billing, not for me because I don't bill. I just tell the patient what I did. And I wrote what's called a CPT code, current procedural terminology. That's what the whole world looks at to say, that's what you did. Everybody knows what I did. But I can't discuss what I did with the medical doctor or with my patient because there's no such thing as Asian massage. So we can go again to the legislature and we can try to get a bill that changes that word where it says Asian massage, also called manual therapy. The definition of manual therapy is absolutely consistent. And so somebody just yesterday told me, well, the board can't do bills. Well, I think that that's not true. I think you make regulations. You can make regulatory changes. You can make language changes, especially where it concerns the protection of the consumer or informing the consumer or our ability to practice as practitioners that benefits the consumer and be able to communicate with other physicians. So I think it's within the purview of the acupuncture board to say to the legislature, you know, this word Asian massage is problematic. It's within your purview to say that. It's within your purview to say, is there a legislator out there that can take this on and say, you know what, we'd like to change this word Asian massage to a word that has medical consistency, that has relevance. The word manual therapy is what both houses approved. And it was only unapproved after the governor was lobbied very heavily by the physical therapies to say that, well, this is what we do. And the letter that I got from the insurance company says, we pay for this procedure when done by physical therapists, chiropractors, and medical doctors, but not by acupuncturists. It didn't say acupuncturists, not by providers of this title. So you can tell I feel very strongly about this, and I would like to see it on the agenda and to see what we can do. And if you can't bring about a regulatory change or make a recommendation to the legislature, then I'd like to have that happen in a meeting and be put in the minutes so then I can go to the legislature and say, the acupuncture board says that they can't do anything here, and I need your help. By the way, the acupuncture board, that bill was brought forth 4 different times, and the acupuncture board approved every single version of that language to make that change, previous acupuncture boards. So it's not like we haven't visited this and haven't brought it to your attention before. So I'm really pleading with you to put this on the agenda and maybe we can put this to rest. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, great meeting. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe DeStefano. I'm a licensed acupuncturist here in California. I am also an AOBTA certified practitioner of TWINA, American Organization of Bodywork Therapies of Asia. AOBTA works hand in hand with the NCCAOM and was very much involved in the previous diplomat in Asian bodywork therapy. So just building on what the previous speaker said, there is definition for Asian massage that is used nationwide. It's time we change the language here in California. And AOBTA has a long history of working with calling it Asian bodywork therapy, manual therapy, and defining all the terms under that. So as you address this issue, I would suggest you look to NCCAOM and to AOBTA for some guidance on language within your own regulations. The reason I'm here originally, I had been asked to speak on behalf of the American Society of Chinese Medicine. It's a bilingual professional organization for both Chinese and English-speaking practitioners of Chinese medicine. And they have a few questions that they would like to ask the board. As a matter of background, I spent 20 years in public policy, working for government agencies and as a consultant. So I've been asked to come in on a policy perspective for this organization. We know you can't answer these questions today, but we respectfully ask that you direct staff to review it as you move forward and respond to it as part of your normal course of business. This deals directly with questions that have come up from the committees about the interaction between the NCCAOM exams and the California licensing examination and the changes that have been proposed over the next several years. First question that they have asked is, will NCCAOM be coming in as a contractor to the board, or will there be a necessary board, a bill from the Assembly and Professions Committee naming NCCAOM as the agency in charge of writing and administrating the exams for California, specifically looking for the supplemental examination process. Secondly, the question has come up about the fee for the new exam, any fee that's developed, as what is the fee, what the fee is expected to be, and will that money be paid to NCCAOM through the Acupuncture Board? Will it be paid directly to the NCCAOM as currently done for the diplomat exams? And if it is paid to the NCCAOM, how will the Acupuncture Board have control over that organization and their questions? The big question that many of us have, will currently practicing acupuncturists be grandfathered in under the new exam, or will we be expected to retest even the supplemental information? And lastly, for the new California exam, or any new California exam, how many test sections will be on the supplemental exam and what fee for each section? These are all questions I know you may not have answers to, but I know it's something that we would like to see addressed in a timely manner. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Great point.
Any other public comments? Okay, any comments from the board?
What a great audience we were today.
The points that the gentleman brought up were the points that were, before I came to the meeting, I reviewed on YouTube the June meeting where NCCAOM Claire Cook was here, and the questions that I had asked her. And these are some of the details that I'm sure we will have to review and go over, and as I have discussed with Ben, and they're the exact questions that this gentleman has addressed. So I know that it is something that we will definitely address. Except one other question that I asked Corey, he addressed all 4 out of 5 that I've addressed in the June meeting last year. So it's definitely something that's going to be on our docket.
Well, I guess this is as good a time as any to announce that this is my last board meeting to everyone here. I think everybody on the dais here knows that today's my last board meeting. My term as a board member has ended. So I'd like to take a quick moment to thank everyone here on the board. It's been a true honor to serve with you these past 4 years, and to acknowledge the Senate Rules Committee for actually appointing me 4 years ago. This is the first time I've ever been able to be on a public official board where you're important and you make important decisions. When I was appointed, I was told, meetings, about 3 meetings a year. That first year turned into 11. So, and I believe in 4 years we've all had about 35 to 36 meetings. So that's a testament, I think, to our board, because I believe in those 35 to 36 meetings, 95% of the time we're all here. So I think that's what's great about our board is that we're incredibly dedicated and passionate about protecting the public. It's been a distinct honor for me because I've learned a lot about the acupuncture field. I've learned how to work within the legal confines of what we do here as board members to understand our role. And it's been fun. It's been a great journey to be a part of it. I just want to thank everyone here, especially Hildy, who I truly believe is the true epitome of what it means to be a leader, because she does it with such class and grace every single day she's here. A lot of you don't know a lot of the work that she does behind the scenes, so I just want to congratulate her on that too as well. Moreover, our board staff, I think, is second to none at DCA, with Ben, led by Mark, as well as with Christine and Jay over here, and of course to board members back in Sacramento. I usually don't get to see you, so they're the ones holding down the fort all the time back in LA or back in Sacramento. So I know Ben, under your leadership the last couple years has been fun. Probably one of the best experiences I could say on the board was when we all testified last year, and I think we had about maybe 3 or 4 days to prepare for that. and we all worked under Ben's leadership to get that through. But I'm confident in this board. This board has been through 2 sunset hearings already in the past 4 years, which is probably a record. And I'm pretty sure they'll get through another one next year. So I know you guys will do well, and I look forward to watching you guys on TV next year. I don't have to be stressed out. So it's been an honor, and I thank you all for allowing me to be on the board. Thank you.
Jamie specifically asked me not to do this, but I'm the president, so I get to do it anyways. I cannot be more appreciative of you as a vice president. I think that you have really come into your own as a leader here, and to thank you for your insight, your expertise, and your engagement. Jamie's absolutely right that there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work here, but that he was a part of that behind-the-scenes work. And, you know, Ben and Jamie and I talk far too frequently about the things that we need to do to get the work on the acupuncture board done. It would not have happened without Jamie Zamora. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us, your knowledge, your insight. You are fully participating in everything, and your temperament and personality has just added so much to what the board has brought to the public. And it's very bittersweet. I think that you are on to brighter things, bigger things perhaps, and I wish you the best of luck in whatever you're going to pursue, but we are sure as hell going to miss you. And Dr. Mateki, you have huge, huge shoes to fill with Jamie as your predecessor. So I'm very sad to see you go, but I wish you the best of luck in whatever you do next. So thank you very much. So I can't tolerate any more messages like that if anybody else decides to say something like that. But if there's any other comments from
I have
the board.
one suggestion. Can we take a picture together for a moment?
Oh, sure.
So we've been
Sure.
1 year out of 4 years, we never take a picture.
That's true.
Okay? So actually, we never have a formal dinner together. We try to make Kim and try to make a dinner, for the meeting.
We didn't agenda
We
this,
miss
so we
everyone.
can't do that.
We don't need a motion
Okay.
for a picture. I don't
I'm
think.
not an acupuncture doctor,
Yeah.
but I would like to present to coin,
Magic.
magic coin. Yeah, everybody carry this one. You're going to up, including who? Including governor, current governor. So they're all people like this one. You will see this one. That's from my
Wow.
Wow.
Thanks so much.
Don't forget the Form 700.
The one day, what is we tell? One day going to be like a China.
Oh, okay.
And then everything good smooth.
Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you. So,
So,
can we take a picture?
yeah, we'll do that after. I just want to thank you to Yosan University again for providing us a home today. As always, the staff, Ben, Mark, Christine, Jay, for your expertise and for really sharing everything that you've been touching on a daily basis with us. We would not have such fruitful discussion if you weren't here and really contributing to what we're doing and the decisions that we're making. So thank you very, very much. I'd like to thank our guest counsel, Nina Hamilton, who has provided us with a lot of substantive feedback today. I know this is like baptism by fire for you with this unique group, but appreciate your comments. And lastly, to all of you, that we know that you have other places to be today, but you choose to spend it with us. And that when you go out into the world today, that you have a wonderful and safe Memorial Day holiday, and remember all of the fallen troops this weekend, and stay safe. So thank you very much. Nothing else. I adjourn this meeting.